It's the Week 11 DraftKings Sweat Show right here on DKTV. I'm your host, Dan Strafford, for tonight. David Kitchen will join us in a little while to talk about the Week 11 results and look forward to Thanksgiving, look forward to next week as well, and keep you up to date on scores and how the scores are changing throughout the night. We'll also talk to Adam Levitan, we'll talk to Andrew Wiggins, and we have a long list of guests to get to tonight as this Buffalo-New England game is about to kick off, and we're going to see a lot of movement right away. Some defenses on the line here. Lots of New England Patriots defenses, I think, are left. And then, of course, we'll have a lot of Danny Amendola and Rob Gronkowski. And then on the Buffalo side, you may see some Shady McCoy. You may see some Sammy Watkins, depending on what tournaments and what games you guys are in. So lots to get to. And we're going to see a lot of cash line movement tonight, too, with Gronkowski and Amendola, both top plays, very much chalk plays in tonight's game. The Patriots are ready to kick off. Buffalo will receive first. Plenty to get to, and let's get right to Adam Levitan right here at the top of the show and bring him in for what was a pretty ugly day of football yesterday, Adam. It was a situation where we didn't have many great quarterback plays. We didn't have a ton of running back outputs other than Thomas Rawls, which we can talk about certainly in a little bit. But how are you on this Monday night? Yet another sweat show here on DKTV.
Hey, I'm doing well. Yeah, so I think this will go down as the lowest scoring week of the season, and with Devontae Freeman about 50% owned in double ups, and Charkandrick West 80% owned or so in double ups. I think you're going to see the cash line, or somewhere between 100 and 115 points in double ups, which is really really low. Obviously, we've seen the cash line up at 180 or 190 in some weeks this year, so. Yeah, that's what happens. These guys get hurt, and as the season moves along, we see more and more injuries. So, yeah, I had a lot of Devontae and I had a lot of Tricandrick, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
And to update everyone here at the top, we have Sam E. Knoll at 194.94. And if his username sounds familiar, Matt Smith, the inaugural Millionaire Maker winner last season, is in first place currently. He's going to have to do a lot of fading tonight as you immediately have somebody jump up into fifth place, Adam, here with the Pats D. So the Patriots D here in fifth place gets the 10 points. Obviously, they're up to fifth with 189 spot 5-4. Can you see a shutout plus 5 points? Is that conceivable tonight from this Pats D against Buffalo?
No, not against the God, not against Ty God. It's not going to happen. I think we saw when these two teams met in week 2 that New England kind of smashed them and got out to a big lead. But we've seen this New England secondary give up a lot of garbage time points and a lot of yardage also in real time too. So I think Buffalo's going to be able to score some points in this game. But yeah, I think New England defense was a fine play. Definitely liable to get a bunch of sacks in this game.
And I assume we'll see a lot of Danny Amendola because of the price point, but I fear Belichick tonight. I fear that this is going to end up being where Amendola gets slotted right back into his normal role, and you see no increase in targets, no increase in role, and we're stuck with LaFell and we're stuck with Gronkowski. Not that that's a bad thing per se, but you don't get the payoff in value from Danny Amendola.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't expect Amendola's snap count to rise too sharply because Edelman was playing on the outside in about half his snaps and playing inside about half his snaps. I expected Danny Amendola to only play on those inside snaps. The reason I thought he got a boost was just because he'll see more targets and it's more concentrated now where New England can throw the football. They don't have Dion Lewis. They don't have Julian Edelman, and James White and Brandon Bolden can't really play. So I thought it would be more concentrated to Gronkowski and Amendola, and LaFell on the outside has the most difficult matchup against Stephon Gilmore and those Bills corners.
You may have seen Keyshawn Martin in this game, but he was inactive to start. So there's another wide receiver off the table for the Patriots. To Adam's point, there's only so many places Brady can throw the ball. In a situation like this, he has to get the ball to some of these receivers. He likes to throw it. The Pats had some sort of crazy stat where if they throw, when they throw X number of throws in a game, they are successful about 85% with a win percentage, whereas the rest of the league is an insane loss percentage. But Adam, looking back at week 11 and what we know from this past weekend, more injuries, and some poor performances. You touched on some of them. What do you make of the QB play this past weekend? You had a lot of cheap options. You had a guy like Mark Sanchez, who people probably expected a little bit more from, but he didn't really do all that poorly in the grand scheme of things this weekend.
Yeah, so I had the most of Stafford, and people were tweeting at me like, "Oh, never again on Stafford. I'm never using Stafford again." I mean, the guy had 20 points, and I know it was a little fluky. He caught that rushing touchdown in the second half there, which was obviously huge. But yeah, I thought Stafford was fine. I thought Sanchez was fine. He didn't play a very good real life game, but he still scored 17 DraftKings points. And when I think the chalk was more Derek Carr, at least more people had Derek Carr than Sanchez or Stafford, that was kind of a big difference. It's the second week in a row we've seen this second-year quarterbacks be the chalk in what perceived to be good spots. Blake Bortles 2 weeks ago when he went into Baltimore, and this week Derek Carr going into Detroit, and it didn't work out very well for the people that rostered them. I'm not definitely sold on these second-year quarterbacks, and I'm not sold on them going on the road, especially against secondaries that I think are somewhat improving, especially in the case of the Ravens with Jimmy Smith and Ladarius starting to play the way they're capable of. So, yeah, I thought Stafford and Sanchez were kind of profitable if you rostered them. Obviously, if you had Cam Newton, you had the nuts, but that was about it.
We will get back to Adam momentarily. And something we're seeing early here from the Patriots is Gronkowski split out wide on some sets here. So be something to keep an eye on whether or not Scott Chandler comes in as well as part of this offense. And we're going to go to our first guest of the night, and that is user Aaron F. Steinberg. And Aaron is all over the Millionaire Maker tonight, doing a great job piecing together some lineups on multi-injury and also World Championship qualifiers as well. Has the Pats defense as his lone PMR going on this one team. Aaron, how are you tonight? Welcome to the DK Sweat Show.
I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you.
Yeah, you are all over the top 500 here to start the night. We will see some movement, not much PMR left on most of those teams. So if Gronkowski or Amendola or somebody starts moving, you may drop down a bit. But I'm staring right now at a team in 12th place in the Millionaire Maker with the Pats D. You had Palmer, McFadden, Sherkandrick West, Larry Fitzgerald, Stevie Johnson, Julio Jones, Greg Olsen, Thomas Rawls, and the Patriots D. So I have to ask up front, the Rawls take, was that a late swap or was that an original lineup where you just were waiting on the Marshawn Lynch news?
No, so that was a late swap. I originally had Marshawn Lynch in a bunch of my lineups, and when we got the news that he was out, I late swapped to a ton of Rawls, actually. I didn't just replace Marshawn Lynch with Rawls. I actually replaced a bunch of other people with Rawls as well. So that was like my brother and I were joking earlier that the late swap never has worked in our favor, and this time it was just the greatest situation for us since he just crushed this week, as you're well aware.
Yeah, it's amazing how much that came into play here. We see a ton of the lineups here in the top 20 have Rawls, and these are the news and notes that happen in the NFL with injuries mounting as the weeks go on that can really make and or break lineups. And you were on the sunny side of that proposition there, getting Rawls for 43.5 points. What do you think the transition is this week for Rawls? We're hearing that Lynch may have a sports hernia, may be out for the year. How much over ownership will we see on Thomas Rawls heading into next week?
Probably a fair amount. I mean, you know as well as I do that one of the great things for us and not so great things for a recreational player is that they kind of overvalue previous performance. So I would expect his salary will not go up like so much to the point where he still won't be an amazing play. But, I mean, over ownership is tricky because what does even over ownership mean when you have a back that's as good as Rawls and probably as cheap as he'll continue to be? So I don't, but I'm sure a lot of people will be on him at what, like this week, it was like a 1% play because of the late swap. And next week, I'm sure, there's no secrets or no late swap edge to get there.
You have Rawls at 4,500 heading into next week as Tom Brady was just picked off over the middle by the Buffalo defense and a potential return here. Interesting flag down. We'll keep an eye on that. He was targeting Gronkowski, but a hit jarred the ball loose. So, Aaron, talk to me about multi-entry here. So, you mentioned that you had a bunch of swaps to Rawls. Are you somebody who is constructing each lineup individually, trying to find best matchups each way through, or are you taking a core of players and then trying to fill in around them when doing multi-entry in a large tournament such as this?
The way that I do it is basically I go through all the games and I construct a list of all the running backs that I want to play, all the receivers, tight ends, defenses, and then I tier them. So I try and do it kind of by exposure. So, it's like this week I have a lot of Amendola exposure and a lot of Stevie Johnson exposure and a hell of a lot of Charkander Quest exposure.
Who didn't? I mean, who didn't with that one? That is a bug that bit everyone. 57.2% owned in the Millionaire Maker. You show how high owned he was, West there. If we're dealing with a qualifier and the Millionaire Maker sweat, you're on both here. You're trying to pay attention to both. Which are you drawn to more right now? Obviously, you have the defense here. If you get a big showing from from New England, maybe an interception, a pick six, who knows what could come from that? Or are you more apt to pay attention to the qualifier and what could come out in San Diego?
I wouldn't say it's mutually exclusive. I mean, I know that there's at least one person ahead of me in the Millionaire Maker who also has the Patriots defense. So there's not really a way that I see that I could win the Millionaire Maker.
Right.
But obviously I could, do really well, and that would just be awesome. But right now in this moment, I'm kind of more engaged with the qualifier just because it's such a unique experience, and I've loved participating in the baseball one. So I just love those trips, and the whole experience is really cool. So I'm kind of more on that in this moment, but it's so, because there's only two spots, it's like I can't get too attached to it at this point.
That makes a lot of sense, and I can appreciate that, not from the potential of winning one, just from what you just said. When you mentioned Rawls, 3,800 this past week, he came in at $87.36 per point. That is a great return on investment there. Aaron, what drew you to daily fantasy? Obviously, being out at the baseball World Championship, now being in the NFL hunt here. What drew you in? Were you a season-long guy who made the transition over, or have you always been in on daily fantasy?
So a little bit of a few different things. I mean, I have always played season-long fantasy with friends, but that wasn't really what drove me to it. It was more that I was a poker player, and my brothers were poker players, are poker players, and we just love, basically games of strategy, this type of thing. So if there is a place where we can do math stuff and do applied statistics and games of strategy, especially around sports, which both my brothers and I love, we took the opportunity. And so that was what really got me into it, was more of just like getting the opportunity to do some sort of game of skill, game of strategy thing while involving it and watching sports, which is something I'm doing anyway.
It sounds like a perfect marriage there. From my perspective, my wife has often said there's no off season for me, and that I would watch competitive paint drying if there was a score tally with it. Aaron, we appreciate you being on. Hang with us if you can, if you're around, and don't mind hanging out for a little while, just so we can stay up to date on what you're looking at from a qualifier standpoint. As we said, you're in first place in the 136th, 137th. Qualifier, you have 184.18. Next best is Kennedy Jesse Cam, who has Brandon LaFell going. So that's a little bit of a fade you have to have going there. And then back in fifth place is the Bills defense. So something to keep an eye on there as well, though the Pats are driving now. So you are all in on the Pats tonight and looking for some big defensive outcomes and some big points from Tom Brady. And usually he obliges. So hopefully this works out well for you. Great talking to you. And thanks so much. So Aaron has a lot going on in the Millionaire Maker and also in these qualifiers. As I said, number 136, number 137, 200 people heading out to San Diego, California for their shot in this World Championship of Fantasy Football in December, and then the move on in January to LA for the top 10. That is going to be a heck of a sweat show, a heck of a live show, and these guys here at DraftKings TV know how to put on a great one. We're going to go right back to the guest. We're going to get back to Adam Levitan in a moment to talk more about the week that was and what we have coming up. Up next, we have Drew Birds, 61. That's Drew Maddox, who is looking for some love here from the Patriots defense as well. So we move from Aaron with the Pats D over to Drew with the Pats D. Drew, welcome to the DK Sweat Show here on DraftKings TV. How are you tonight?
Doing well. How's it going?
Good. So have you ever rooted so hard for defensive points in your lifetime?
No, it's absolutely bizarre. I can't wrap my mind around it. I don't have to look at injuries or anything like that. I know my player's playing tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about late swapping there because Pats D has to show up in some way, shape, or form. Whether or not it's a good Pats D or a bad Pats D will be a different story. But you probably love seeing Tom Brady driving down the field too here. Just get some points on the board early, give the D something to work with from a lead perspective. But this is a Bills team that can turn the ball over. So if you can get a turnover, maybe a pick six and a couple of sacks here, you're not that far off from taking down Matt Smith, Sammy Knoll, who is in first place. You're 5.5 points back currently. You are obviously rooting hard for this shutout, though.
Absolutely. I need a big defensive game, and I'm worried about the guys behind me with Gronk and Amendola and LaFell.
Absolutely. You have a ton of opportunity behind you, as you said, with those guys. And even further down, we're going to start to see a mix of players we may not know. Sammy Watkins could be in play for some people here further down the list. You may have some Watkins, Amendola, Gronkowski trios that could make their way up if things start breaking that way. A lot of plays tonight that could have been available to people as they were doing lineup construction. Take me through your lineup if you don't mind. We were talking to Adam Levitan about Mark Sanchez and how perceived as a bad weekend for him, but in the grand scheme of things, he gave you 16 points and gave you a lot of other options on your roster. Where did you start your roster construction? Was there one player that you focused on, or were these just pieces that all sort of fell together?
It all started with Jonathan Stewart. I always like to go cheaper at running back and load up on wide receivers because of the PPR format, of course, and cheap quarterback. Sanchez could have paid off a little better for me. My Sanchez-Ertz stack didn't really show up. Otherwise, I might not be sweating it out as much as I am right now. But in general, I'm looking for cheaper running backs that catch a lot of passes, which doesn't exactly describe Stewart, but it worked out this time. He did get that receiving touchdown. And then, of course, the late swap to Rawls. I did have Amendola in my lineup originally, and I went with Rawls because of the lower ownership percentage.
Well, that's an interesting thing to follow here. Obviously, with Rawls' number, 43.5, don't expect Amendola to get anywhere near that. But having him still on the field and having to watch his output can be a little bit tenuous there, of course. Are you a single bullet entry into the Millionaire Maker?
I was this week. I typically play a few more entries, but I've kind of lowered my bankroll down to the point where I was only able to put one in, but it worked out for me.
Sounds like some good bankroll management going on there, making sure you're paying attention to cash game entry and GPP entry. And hey, it worked out, as you just said, the one singular entry. And I've found over time, when I start getting into multi-entry, I start comparing the lineups too much and trying to diversify. And whereas when you can focus on just one great lineup or try to focus on one great lineup, sometimes great things can happen. Love the Jonathan Stewart play. And I don't know that Jonathan Stewart's getting enough respect in the NFL of late for what he and Cam Newton and what the entire Panthers offense has been doing of late. Now, the wide receivers there are middling to lower level in the NFL, but when you have Olsen, Stewart, and Cam Newton doing what they've been doing, it's been really impressive. The Patriots picked up a Gostowski field goal, so it's 3-0. The Bills have the ball back, so you're back on the clock here with the Pats D coming onto the field. Who do you root for when you watch the NFL? Who are you a fan of?
Well, I grew up a Cowboys fan. I've kind of, as I've gotten older, become more of a football agnostic. I just like to root for individual players, and yeah, I'll always be a little connected to the Cowboys. I can't completely turn my back on them, but they do make it frustrating to root for them sometimes.
I can understand that. You do have Darren McFadden in your lineup here, if I'm reading this correctly. So a little bit of Cowboy love there, whether it was a good play no matter what. Maybe it came through a little bit for you there. Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins had a big game. No fear of the Jet secondary there. Just thought it was too good a matchup to pass up and too high of a target count for Hopkins.
There was certainly a little bit of fear, not so much with the Jets matchup, but with the quarterback situation with Yates. I really wasn't scared of Revis. I knew that Hopkins would take every opportunity to show off a little and catch those touchdowns.
Yeah, Hopkins is a physical specimen who does things on the football field not many can do from a physicality and a speed perspective. So you come into this, you're now in 5th place. That is, even though maybe not first place, life-changing money. You said you have to fade guys behind you. But if you win, if you finish top 10, does this change your strategy moving forward? Or you're a one lineup guy moving forward for the Millionaire Maker? Or do you go back to trying to find those multi-entry avenues?
It really kind of depends week to week. Sometimes there's so many guys that I want to fit into that lineup that you just have to add a second entry just to get everybody out there, playing that you're interested in for the week. But on a week like this, it's a little bit easier to go one entry because there weren't too many outstanding players. It was kind of a low scoring week all around.
Absolutely. And lots of value will sometimes lead to that when everybody's on the value. Value players are value players for a reason, right? They're not the top flight guys. So we are in a low scoring week, and seems like the Patriots and Bills are doing their best to oblige that, as well, as it's just 3-0, 7:17 to go, first quarter here. Drew, thanks for the time. We will stick with you if you're with us. We'd love to check back with you later on tonight if you're around, see how this Pats D turns out for you, and check in on how your score is doing in the Millionaire Maker.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So that was Drewbert61, Drew Maddox. We're going to bring back in Adam Levitan now as the Bills offense tries to get something going here in their own half of the field. Now, Adam, I brought it up to Drew. I wonder what your take is on Jonathan Stewart. Do you think he's getting the respect he deserves over the past 6 weeks with the output he's had? I know that doesn't always turn into fantasy points per se, but he's had a really good run the past few weeks and just doesn't seem to be somebody that's highly talked about in the NFL.
Yeah, I've only rostered Jonathan Stewart once this year, and it was a home game against the Saints where I thought he was in a really good spot and he laid a complete egg. So maybe I'm a little bit biased towards him, but I just have not been on him, mostly because he's not the primary red zone back and the primary goal line back that goes to Cam Newton, that goes to Mike Tolbert. And it also doesn't seem like he's very involved in the pass game, Jonathan Stewart, but I can't deny what he's done lately. I mean, he's got over 20 carries, I believe, in 5 or 6 straight games, and gone over 100 rushing yards, got that bonus in a lot of straight games. And, DraftKings pricing takes into account guys who catch passes. So since Jonathan Stewart only catches 2 or 3 per game, his price has not really spiked sharply. I'm not sure what it is this week, but it's certainly been around the 5,000 mark for a few weeks now. So, yeah, I've been slow on Jonathan Stewart. It definitely cost me.
What do you make of the Panthers offense overall? Is Cam Newton somebody that you trust moving forward? Because he's another one who's continued to have great weeks. His floor seems pretty secure. Talk about the whole rushing versus throwing quarterback thing, but that gives him a higher floor, doesn't it? It gives you a little bit more trustworthy statistics because he'll do it both ways. Do you think Cam is somebody who should be higher owned as we move forward?
Oh, yeah. Cam has been like the number one cash game quarterback for point per dollar in like almost every week for the past, 5 or 6 weeks, just because, like you said, we know even if he's not throwing well, he's going to run for 40 or 50 yards. If the pass game's not going well, he's a threat to run in so many touchdowns. And with the way he's playing in the pass game, he has such good chemistry with Olsen right now. It's really hard for Cam to lay an egg. So, yeah, I thought he was a really good play this week. My best GPP lineup. I do have a top 200 lineup, or I had a top 200 lineup in the Million Maker, but I'm sure I'm getting
humble brag here, Adam. Just bringing.
Not humble brag, just straight brag. But yeah, I had Cam and a Cam Funchess stack in there, so I definitely like Cam.
So that's why you're tweeting so much about Funchness. That it all makes sense now. It all comes full circle. Where you talked about some completion percentages, some targets, some time on the field. I get it. I understand it. But you mentioned I've been talking about the Carolina Panthers defense. We have Thursday games, and obviously Thanksgiving week is a vastly different week for the NFL with these 3 games. We have the $2 million Wishbone Classic, $200,000 to first place on DraftKings. 3 games. We don't have to necessarily dive too much into them, but Thanksgiving means football. Football now means daily fantasy for a lot of people. What do you make of this slate of games on Thursday? And has your research already kicked off in earnest here, trying to get ready for some pretty large tournaments on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, no, I'm going to be behind. I can tell already because I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm still kind of trying to digest this week and figure out what happened yesterday. I do know that Dez is going to be on Josh Norman. So I think that's a pretty difficult matchup for Dez, who's likely to go over-owned, I think, coming off of his touchdown, and given that he has a big name on a slate that doesn't have a ton of big names. The Eagles-Lions game should have a lot of scoring in theory, but we've said that so many times about Eagles games this year, and they just consistently disappoint, often playing better defense than people think and playing worse offense than people think. So yeah, I think the Packers-Bears game is the most interesting one to me. Expect that game to be probably the highest scoring.
Let's go back to our guests here as we continue here on the DraftKings Sweat Show. We'll talk to Adam a little bit more as we move forward. We're going to bring in Snowball 2247. That's Brandon Nickel from near my neck of the woods where I grew up, Phillipsburg, New Jersey, as he checks in with Danny Amendola on his sweat, trying to break into the top 25, maybe even make a move towards the top of the leaderboard here. 19.96 points back of first place Sam E. Knoll. Brandon, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Having a good time here on the DK Sweat Show, talking to a number of different participants in both the qualifiers and here in the Millionaire Maker. Danny Amendola, a cheap wide receiver, obviously thrust into a lot of lineups because of Julian Edelman. Was Amendola a key focus of you this week because of the price tag, or was he somebody that fit in as you were doing your roster construction because of that price tag?
Yeah, Amendola was a key aspect of my lineup. I wanted to try to focus around getting a decent running back like Todd Gurley, and I knew Amendola would get a lot of looks because of Edelman being out.
You currently sit in 31st place. Amendola with 2 receptions, 16 receiving yards. You had Carson Palmer, you mentioned Gurley, Adrian Peterson, who was a bit of a no-show when all is said and done, Julio Jones, Golden Tate, Crockett Gilmore at tight end, Thomas Rawls. So you were another beneficiary of the late swap there with the 1.6% owned for Rawls. And then the Panthers defense, which was a great play there, as it looks like you're going to get the Patriots getting the ball back here, so Amendola back on the field. Obviously, he's there for the punt return, but on offense, obviously, a big one there. When you're constructing a Millionaire Maker lineup, are you someone who focuses on variance, somebody who's looking for lower-owned guys, or are you focusing in on the best possible lineup you can construct?
Yeah, I mean, I try to get a cheap defense out there first and a cheaper tight end, and then construct my lineup around there, going a little bit higher profile guys. And if it ends up not working out, then I look for cheaper guys like a Thomas Rawls with a last-minute switch there.
And so with Rawls, 1.6% owned, I don't think you expected 43.5 points from Thomas Rawls, but certainly will take that output from the running back. What drew you to daily fantasy sports? Why enter something like the Millionaire Maker? Why sign up for a website like DraftKings.com?
Well, I've been playing fantasy for about 3 or 4 years now, and I just like the adrenaline rush you get from it. And the fact that you can win money like this for only like a $5 entry or even $20 entry at the most, it's kind of intriguing.
And Brandon, I need to ask, Snowball 2247.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Unfortunately, Snowball is actually my nickname back here in my hometown. not going to go into detail on why it is Snowball, but that's just my nickname, so I felt like using it as my username.
I appreciate that we can keep some things secret. We just met, so we don't have to lay it all on the table here right up front. So that is completely okay by me. Are you a cash game player as well, or are you somebody who focuses on the tournaments on DraftKings?
I just pretty much play the tournaments. I do the Millionaire Maker every week, and if I have any little extra cash, I do the cheaper $2 and $5 entries.
Great. And this is a single bullet, one entry, right? You didn't have multi-entry into this tournament?
Yeah, I only ever do one entry. I don't do multi-entries.
So here you are in 31st place with an opportunity with Amendola now back on the field to continue to move up. You do have some Pats D's ahead of you, but there is some room for you to run here. If Amendola can give you some offense and Brady can target him enough, what does this sort of potential payday mean to you playing one single entry out of 286,000. What could this mean if you were to continue to move up the rankings here?
It would mean a lot. I mean, I'd be able to pay off a lot of things that I still owe on, and definitely possibly go back to school because I recently was going to and couldn't go because of how expensive it was.
It is something that is most definitely expensive across the country. A complete pass for Tom Brady to Brendan LaFell, though. So we're going to keep updating you guys on scores throughout the night. And David Kitchen will come in a little bit later on to do the same. He's a little bit faster on math than I am. So we're going to keep him focused on that. But finally, Brandon, as you focus on this night tonight, are you somebody who needs to watch this alone? Are you with friends? How do you sweat this out on a Monday night football game?
I'm just watching it at home, more comfortable by myself and all that stuff. I'm not a person that likes to go out too much, so I like to watch it at home and enjoy the festivities there.
Brandon, I appreciate any Jerseyan coming on, as I grew up over in Old Bridge, New Jersey, been to Phillipsburg many a time for wrestling matches back in high school and back in the day. So appreciate the town, appreciate you coming on the DK Sweat Show, and best of luck. We'll check in with you if Amendola starts racking up some yards here.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Brandon Nickel, Snowball 2247. That is in 31st place currently, looking for some Danny Amendola, as are a lot of people. Let's be honest. We're looking for Gronkowski. We're looking for Amendola. There's some LaFell out there as well. There is plenty to keep an eye on here. And as we said, you probably have some McCoy and some Watkins ownership in some of your cash games and maybe even some of these tournaments where people were looking to be a little bit on the contrarian side and piece together some Monday night hammers that might come through. We're coming towards the end of the first quarter here, but we'll go to another guest, and that is Hot Magic. Hot Magic sits in 6th place with no PMR. That is Andrew Barron. Andrew, you're on the DK Sweat Show. Dan Strafford here in Boston as we watch Buffalo and New England towards the end of the first quarter. How are you tonight?
I'm well. Yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm hosting a show talking about daily fantasy and talking about the NFL. Life is good. So you are sitting currently in 6th place, and you are fading everyone tonight. You are sitting there hoping it is a 10-7 no turnover sort of contest here. How does that shape up for your viewing pleasure of Monday Night Football?
Yeah, for sure. I don't even know why I'm on the sweat show. I'm on the sick anti-sweat show where I just hope nothing happens. You know?
You're on the fade show. This is the DK fade show. But you put together a millionaire maker lineup on a very low scoring week that has 188 points with Cam Newton, who I was just talking to Adam Levitan about. I think Cam is under-owned in daily fantasy for one reason or another, but you had him this week. You swapped into Thomas Rawls, I assume, as well here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
you just seem... Sorry, go ahead.
What was that swap? What was the lineup construction changes that you went through there?
I had some... I think that particular lineup had Blunt and Jimmy Graham. And I just thought Rawls was the lock of all locks. He's a 2-touchdown home favorite against the worst team in the league, and he's min-priced. And you're going to get him for, I mean, I would have thought he would be higher owned than that, but you know, it was pretty good. And so I switched from Blunt and Graham to Rawls and Tyler Eifert, just because that's how the money worked.
So you had the flex position, double tight end for you. You had Jordan Reed in the tight end spot, but then the flex of Tyler Eifert. And Eifert gave you a good output as well, 17.2 points there. And you were on the Chiefs defense, a big output there from them. You have a pretty much a much more balanced lineup than a lot of people in the top of the millionaire maker here. What drew you to the Chiefs? Was it just thinking that San Diego has so many people injured that it was a good matchup, or was it a price point for Kansas City?
It was a little of both. I think the Chiefs are a pretty underrated defense. I think, San Diego's losing a lot of people. And then I wanted to do the Charkandrick correlation play. And, well, that happened. But, I think the Chiefs are a good defense.
The correlation play, of course, running back defense for those who don't use that strategy out there, using the top back and the defense to get both sides of a good win for the offense there. West, that's a rough play for a lot of people out there. You see him at 57.2% owned. Hamstring, not necessarily he's day-to-day from last I saw, so we'll see how that plays into the next week. Are you a long-time player of DraftKings, or are you new to daily fantasy this season?
Yeah, I've been playing for 3 or 4 years. I can't remember exactly. But, I've been playing for quite a while. Pretty standard story. I was grinding out for a while and then happened to luck into a pretty big tournament, and then I was able to grind it out from there. So.
It sounds like a pretty specific story of the high peak in the middle and hopefully some good plateaus there on the outside of that peak. As you continue on, you're in 6th place here, looking for, as I said, as limited an offensive game from Amendola and Gronk as possible, most likely, and hoping that the Pats D gives up a little bit here to maybe drop one of at least Drew Burt 61 down a couple of points, put yourself back in 5th. What would this sort of peak, again, this high-end possible tournament mean to you? What sort of possibilities does this open up with such a big payday?
Oh, it'd be great. I mean, I think, it just would allow me to keep doing this. It's been a pretty exciting thing for me the last year plus of being able to do this for a big part of my income, and it would really help me continue with that. And we'd go somewhere cool. My wife and I would definitely go somewhere cool.
Somewhere cool is always good. I know we talked to a couple of participants last week about Europe, a couple about Tahiti, but those were friends of the winner, so I don't know if that was their influence or his. So you'll have some work to do with your wife to sit down and think about it. Last question for you. Hot Magic, spelled slightly wrong, but Hot Magic is the username. Where'd that come from?
I played in bands forever with a bunch of friends of mine, and one of the guys was this sort of goofy dude who was really, really analytical about the music. Just was always asking about a song needing either hot magic or smooth action. Those were like the two descriptors he had for it, and it just always stuck with me. I thought it was really funny, and everyone's name is kind of random.
Spelled slightly wrong, but Hot Magic. So hot magic and smooth action, was that the other one?
That was the other one.
All right, so
one or the other.
With your permission, I'm going to work that in as many times tonight as I can as we talk throughout the night. Andrew, great stuff. We wish you the best of luck sweating out this game. Can't be a fun time staring at a Monday Night Football game and hoping for little or nothing. But we wish you the best of luck, and if nothing else, hope that your 6th place finish holds here as the night continues.
Oh, thanks. I like your podcast a lot too. Appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Always love hearing from listeners of a variety of media that I get to host. And to be honest, somebody mentioned it before. I think Andrew asked how I was doing. Lots of fun to be here, and lots of fun to be able to talk to everybody about what they're going through, the ability to get their lineups constructed and what they're trying to pay attention to as this Pats D is back out on the field, trying to keep this Buffalo defense at bay, and they've done a good job thus far, and it's interesting to watch. Where we have Drew Burt 61 at 189, spot 5.4. Sam Enoll, Matt Smith at 194, spot 9.4, 5.5 points between them. And what's amazing is we are looking for sacks, we're looking for picks, we're looking for any and all potential game-changing plays here from the Pats defense. And Tyrod Taylor there able to avoid a sack and get away. So potential points off the board. There we go to another guest here on the DraftKings Sweat Show here on DKTV, and that is Aaron Krullick, A. Krullick on DraftKings.com. He is on Gronk tonight, and he is about 30 points back, looking to make his way up the leaderboard if Gronkowski can find the end zone, if Gronk can pick up some PPR magic. Aaron, how are you tonight?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear, sir. So Gronkowski is somebody that is fairly highly owned across the board in cash games and in tournament options. We all thought, hey, let's understand that we know Amendola is the cheaper play, but Brady needs to throw it somewhere. Was Gronkowski somebody that you started your lineup construction with? Was he a sort of a Gronk or bust sort of week for you at tight end? Or is he somebody, as the price tag came through, you knew you could get to in your lineup?
It's a great question. I think that Gronk was a guy I built the lineup around. He was the one person that I was not going to touch. And I just had a feeling. I think that's what you have with, obviously every week you have a feeling and you go with it. And we're seeing right now if it's going to pay off. If I get a good night from Gronk, right now I have 168 points. Gronk comes out, has a couple touchdowns, blows up. I'm already, I could be top 20 easily. I counted actually the number of teams ahead of me that are still going. And even though I'm in like 180th place or whatever,
154th,
there's only about 30 teams ahead of me that still have players going.
Right.
So, it's an amazing, there's so much going on right now. We don't know what could happen. Gronk could open it up. I think the interesting, there's a couple of factors that you're going to see with the winning team this week. I think you've brought out the Rawls play. That for me, obviously, he's in my team. If you pull up my team, I could easily, and this is why you don't play multiple. I played 6 lineups this week. And I also have Amendola going in one league. But, the lineups that did the worst were the ones that I thought might do the best, i.e. with Seattle defense. That was a lock. I think that anyone that played Seattle D, you got 5 points.
Yep.
Look at the difference right there between that and the Chiefs is 15. Boom. So that was a huge letdown. It's more about who people dodging certain bullets this
Absolutely.
week, I think, with fantasy. That's what, it's just so bizarre. And then you have to hit, not only did you have to dodge a couple bullets, but you had to hit Rawls.
Right. If you were not on the late swap to Rawls at 1.6% owned, absolutely. You're going to have to forget your chances to cash big prizes. You're still alive in a lot of cash games and lower level tourneys because so many people were on Freeman and West and some of these chalk plays that we talked about. But to your point about defenses, I think it's a great question. In general, about the fact of should you pay up for defenses? Should you chase those high-priced defenses when the variance between turnovers and shutouts and those opportunities really are not that distant? So a team like the Chiefs had an interception, a defensive fumble recovery, a defensive touchdown, 3 sacks, and all of a sudden you have 20 points.
Exactly. And here I'm looking up right now just to give you an idea. Seattle was owned in 22% of leagues, and I would love to know. Here let's see let's see who else was owned. The Panthers were owned in 8.8%. I had them in one league.
Right.
The Chiefs were owned in only 5.8%. These defenses. It's like you got to have a defense that once again doesn't. But look at that Tampa Bay.
Right. Yeah,
did anyone have Tampa Bay defense? That's what, if you noticed my squad, I went all in on Tampa Bay receivers just based on the matchup, and I knew VJax coming back was such a good discount in that lineup. He was an underrated start this week. I thought you couldn't go wrong going both Tampa Bay guys. Honestly, I should have, if I just, and I had Sanchez, it's not like I didn't have room or money to move around to even get a lesser tight end to get me Cam Newton, who I was thinking about playing.
Well, I mean, Aaron, let's be honest.
Many what ifs.
We all go
But
through that.
Isn't it nauseating?
It can be nauseating, or it can be exhilarating, or it can be a learning experience. I think that looking back, and I'm a big proponent of this from a lineup construction standpoint, of going back and seeing what choices you made, why you made them, where you could have pivoted, what choices could have worked out differently, is always sort of the aftermath from that, because the potential for armchair quarterbacking can be pretty tough, as LaShawn McCoy almost put the ball on the turf there, which would have changed a lot of things around here. Aaron, as you're focusing on Gronk here tonight, 23.4% owned. What could a big night from Gronk turn into points-wise, and for you money-wise? What would it mean to jump up into the top 100, the top 50 here tonight, and slowly increase your potential winnings?
I think that we have to realize that with the Patriots, probably unlike any other team, I would say the Packers, but the Packers have been iffy. The Patriots can score on any down. All right. They want to score as many points as possible. So with that in mind, if we keep on I'd like to see Buffalo put up some points here. That's right. The first thing that needs to happen. So Buffalo needs to score, perhaps even pick six Brady, right? Let's get New England down. So I need to see Buffalo put up points. I want all the Patriots defense people that own those defenses to get knocked down.
Yep.
But I don't know how many are in front of me.
You have a few to climb, but Aaron, you're spot on there where you talk about wanting Buffalo to score. You push the Pats defense down, and then that gives Brady the opportunity to put up points as well. Aaron, thanks so much for joining us here on the DraftKings Sweat Show. Great job by you, and good luck the rest of the way with Rob Gronkowski.
Thank you.
As we focus in on the rest of this Sweat Show, we're in the second quarter. 10:30 or so to go. 3-0 New England over Buffalo, and plenty of game left, plenty of opportunity for the Patriots offense to get back on the field. But to Aaron's point, those who are chasing the Pats defense are just looking for the Bills to put up any sort of points here. Just get on the board and knock down that Pats defense score in some way, shape, or form, and then force Brady to throw the ball more. Force the Patriots to go to the pass game, to Amendola, to Gronkowski, and make sure that all those pieces are coming together. With that said, we now turn to Nashville, Tennessee. We turn to the DraftKings Sweat Show host, David Kitchen, as we bring Kitchen on to talk about tonight's game and to bring us up to date on what we're looking at here. And as we watch Tyrod Taylor go to work for this Bills offense, another potential turnover there dropped by the Pats secondary, Dave. But first of all, congratulations. You are now the father of two children, not just one, two children now here in the world that are kitchen certified. How is everybody doing? How is the nights going? How are the mornings? How are you, sir?
Listen, first of all, it's great to be back. I don't appreciate you taking my job, but
I keep the seat warm. That's all. I don't have a lot to keep.
You're a $1.25. You're not keeping anything.
I am a $1.45. If we're being honest here, I'm a.
Now you're trying to rub in the fact that I'm fat. What's going on here?
Hey, facts are facts. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what's going on.
No, but everything's great. I have a second baby girl named Kate, and she is like an angel baby. Like the first one, was having to rock and all the things that dads do to get the baby to go to sleep. And I don't want to jinx anything. Feel like, not using proper baby kit instead of sweater kit, but she has been like an absolute angel. All she wants to do is sleep, poop, and get some of that breast milk action. So
I was going to say I'm the same, but you went to the third there, and that's a different story altogether. But glad to have you back. Honestly, keeping the seat warm. I'm sure you are itching to talk some NFL. You did the preview show this past Thursday for this weekend, and this was I want to say disappointing, but it was a rough weekend for chalk plays. It was a rough weekend for a lot of ownership. But when you look back on it, there's still potential to cash. There's still potential to win because so many people were on these players who did not meet value.
Yeah, and listen, first of all, I would just want to go ahead and state that Adam Levitan hated Jay Stu. Hated Jay Stu this week. I brought him up on the Sweat Show, and Adam just gave him the nah wave, just said that anyone owning him was an idiot. Maybe not that far. But, yeah, as far as this week goes, I really think more than any other week that we've ever had on the DraftKings Sweat Show in the Millie Maker contest, strategy – in-game late swap strategy played the biggest parts. And, of course, I'm talking about Thomas Rawls. No one really had really planned on rostering Rawls at the beginning, and you can see by 1.6% owning him then, like that was only after the news that Marshawn Lynch wasn't going to play. That's after it broke. And so that's why you see a guy like Sammy Knoll, a guy that is no stranger to big wins. He's one of the best DFS players around. And so that's why you see Sammy Nola in first place, because he was smart enough to make that swap. And the price point that Rawls was at was kind of a perfect swap for West. And so if you wanted to be kind of contrarian, whereas West had a really high ownership rate, you had Rawls, which is going to be the difference. Like on a low-scoring week, when you have a guy score 46 points, it's going to be a difference. So that's kind of what we're seeing. We're also seeing the curse of the Monday night game. Thought this was going to be a shootout, and of
brutal.
It's 3-3. And Dan, again, that's what you get. Like for that first week that you were in, and it was like an amazing game with the Bears and the Chargers. Last week was brutal. This week is brutal. And that is karma, my friend, because that's what you get for having such a sexy game on your first night as the host of the DraftKings Sweat Show.
I can appreciate that. You know what? In the end, I think you'd agree. It's a pretty good job to have hanging out here, whether it's a terrible game or not. Get to talk some fantasy football. But yes, this is terrible. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're looking for a bit more.
As far as the games, we'll go ahead and run down the scores. Of course, Sammy Knoll is in first place. If Jameis Winston wins Sammy Knoll $1 million, then that's going to be like, it would be akin to, I'm trying to think of who your favorite player would be, like a Rutgers guy that's not in legal trouble or something like that. Anyways, it'd be like that guy winning you $1 million. You're talking about his favorite player. He's like an avid Florida State Bucks fan. He eats crab legs every night in honor of Jameis Winston. His son's middle name, I think, is Jameis, something like that.
First name famous, right?
You're right. So, like, we're talking about a serious Jameis lover here, and he's going to win him potentially a lot of money here. So, Sammy Knowles is sitting in first place in the Millionaire Maker with a 194. In the play action, BUI 0721 has a 193 with TJ Yates as his quarterback, 0.1% owned, and he paired Yates with Hopkins. And his lineup is really interesting. He, of course, swapped Rawls for West and had Stewart, two low price guys. And then he went Dez, DeAndre, and Julio, like the three top wide receivers going this week. And then went Tammy, who was pretty much min price. And then Terrence Williams was his guy, and Bucks D. So had a little bit of luck with that Terrence Williams play. You do have a Sammy Watkins that's 9 points down, chasing him down, but Sammy not even with a catch here. And of course, Belichick is known by taking away that top play.
One receiver. Yeah, we're gonna hopefully talk to Ali Medic later tonight here on the Sweat Show as we pay attention here. But Dave, you said this is an interesting lineup. When you have PPR in play, do you see more ownership of top wide receivers and more cheap running backs because of it, or do you think this is a little bit of an outlier from a lineup construction perspective?
There are no outliers really with construction, like, because there is a strategy. Each and every strategy is its own potential ticket to winning this thing. So we see people that roster the top price running backs, which would be bad because of the Freeman injury this week. But we see people that use 2 tight end sets. We see people that go with the 3 top wide receivers. That's actually won someone before. That is it's just one of many strategies. But yes, in a tournament that is a PPR, that the wide receivers are typically a higher ceiling play, it is definitely a strategy, one of many potentially that could win. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. And the 550K blitz, MD HAMD, who is, I don't know why MD HAMD, I don't know what that stands for.
Doctor, maybe.
Give me the news. I got a bad case. No,
we've missed you, Dave. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. This show has missed you. Well done.
He had Cam and Ted Ginn stack, and really had everything except Jordan Reed, who had a fumble loss, didn't get to double digits, and West. So he had West and Rawls in that 550K blitz. Currently, he's winning 100K in that tournament. And then we have to talk about a guy, Condia, in this mega qualifier is going to get another seat. Condia, we have kind of seen this play out last year where there was a battle of Condia and another high stakes guy, Max Dallery, and I think the public knows that Max won this battle. Well, Condia's coming back with some entries now into this big $15 million fantasy football world championship. And so if he gets multiple entries, let's say that he hits the 5 million, it would be just a really good story and a cool storyline when you've got Condia and Max in the same tournament. So Condia is in line for another ticket. Then you got King Dan, Funky Monkey with 2 eyes. So that would be an interesting guy, Funky Monkey. Beep, I'm a Jeep with another chance at a ticket, currently winning one, and Ganondorf. So at least 3 of the 5 guys are pretty well known. And then you have some guys chasing them. But, yeah, those guys are all good. You've got Goulet, our boy Goulet, who has, a lot of players left, and he's at 116. So he is, 25 points back. And he actually has Brady and Patriots, and then went Aaron Dobson. So I'm not really sure what the Dobson play was, but maybe we can talk to him later about that. So, yeah, and then just rounding out some of these other qualifiers, you talked to Aaron Steinberg. He's chasing one of the qualifiers. Kennedy Jessicam is winning one. K. Trov winning another one. Barely edged out. Actually, no, it's 2 people. So you've got Cam, Grinders Cam, one of my favorite guys in the world. Cam is a Nashville guy as well. So he's currently winning a ticket. Titan 1216 is winning the primetime game right now. And yeah, there's just some more. Nothing really too interesting. Cal, so Cam's business partner, Cal, is currently winning a ticket as well. So they're having a good day. And then King Dan, Supplesman, Cubs fan 333, Webby, and another King Dan. So this King Dan guy is the king tonight, I guess. But that's the thing. You've got 200 entries into this world championship. And so 200 entries, if you have 5 of those 200, you're sitting good. If you have one of those 200, you're still going to make money, but you want as many entries to this thing as possible. So and that's kind of where we are right now.
Before we let you go here, Dave, we do have another contestant coming on shortly, but the question I do have is about the live final. So a little bit of a twist this year. We've talked about it previously, but 200 entries going out to San Diego and then 10 of them moving on to another live final. One, you mentioned sort of the first question I had of how important is it to have multiple entries so you can diversify and play some different strategies amongst those lineups? And 2, how important is it once you get to those final 10? Does strategy change because you're bringing your score with you? Do you have to alter the way you've played all year because this live final is a little bit different than previous ones?
Oh, I think so, especially with how top heavy it is, especially if you're like, if you're chasing like 10 or 20 points back. So it's like it'll be something that we've never really seen before. It's something like if you played your one of your friends who's never played daily fantasy, and you said, I'm going to give you 10 points. So I'm going to give you 20 points. And you play whatever lineup and I'll play, you're basically trying to play catch up. And so you're doing things a little more contrarian, but there's a smaller pool. So maybe one guy that no one's going for that you get on, no one's going to really have him. You're going for it. You also have the first couple of spots that are trying to block everybody. So they're looking at what potentially is going to be theirs. We're going to see just some really cool strategy. And of course, it's going to be on ESPN. So I'm really looking forward to the whole two-part final, basically.
It will be a cliffhanger of sorts from San Diego to LA, so you can have some fun teasing that out at the end there. David, you're going to hang with us. You're with us during halftime and into the second half. We are going to talk to Nicky J51 next. Nicholas Kettinger. Nicholas is currently sitting in first place in the 600K kickoff special with 187.64. You heard David referencing this contest earlier. Nick, it's Dan Strafford here in Boston, the DraftKings Sweat Show on DKTV. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Having a good time hosting the show, talking to a bunch of different people who are focusing on a variety of different parts of this Monday night game, which from a entertainment value has been a little bit of a letdown thus far. But from your perspective, from where you're sitting, I think this has to be a very entertaining game thus far.
Absolutely. I'm sitting in first. I don't have the expectation to take first, once this game finishes out. But for the pace of the game is doing great, from my perspective.
You have 3 Danny Amendolas chasing you in the top 10. At the rate he's at right now, I don't think 20 Danny Amendolas would catch you, but that's a different story altogether. This seems like a strange game unfolding. The Patriots really spreading the ball around when they get the opportunity, but the Bills defense playing well thus far, 3-3, about 6.5 minutes left to go in the first half as the Pats have the ball back. What drew you to this lineup? Was there a specific play above others that you built your lineup around? I see you were one of the chosen few who swapped to Thomas Rawls, but was there a play at the outset of the weekend that you were on and you stuck to, or was this a fluid process as you got up to kick off on Sunday morning?
I made some various different lineups. One lineup, one guy I wanted to get in there was Cam Newton for sure. Some lineups I played him without a receiver. I think this one, I got him in there with Ted Ginn. And then I know Jordan Reed didn't do much, but I liked if Panthers were going to rack up the points, I figured he could get a little garbage time. Some Jimmy Graham, Kobe Fleener. There were a couple guys that did decent from the tight end spot against the Panthers. So I like that. Didn't work out great. Initially, I had Stevie Johnson in that flex, and I ended up looked at it once I saw the Lynch injury and thought, if this lineup, if it's going to do something, I need to make the switch, which it ended up working out great.
Are you a longtime player on DraftKings, or how long have you been playing on the site?
This is my third season.
Third season. Have you had this intense a sweat before? Have you been involved in a tournament coming down to the final night of play?
No, nothing this big. Nothing on this big of a scale, so it's definitely exciting.
Right. So the feeling of excitement, a little bit of anxiety, I would assume, as you're watching this game unfold. But what's it like going from sort of smaller sweats, paying attention, and now transitioning to having to watch a Monday Night Football game and hope for a 10-7 sort of final with Brandon Bolden with the big score towards the end of the game?
I don't see my feelings are pretty much the same. It's there's a wide range of outcomes that could happen. So it's out of my hands. I'm just gonna watch it and enjoy it.
Well, we appreciate the time here tonight as you watch this game. Nick, you are out in Missouri. What football team are you? A Chiefs fan? Who do you root for?
Living in St. Louis, so
Rams.
Rams did like the Rams for a while. It's tougher to root for them now, after they've had a dry spell for a while. So I'm more of a fan of the game in general, from a fantasy perspective.
Nicholas Kettinger, Nikki J51. We appreciate the time here tonight on the DK Sweat Show. We wish you the best of luck watching this slow plodding game continue on,
Yes.
and hopefully it continues at that pace for you.
Yes, absolutely.
We appreciate the time from Nicholas there. We're going to bring back on Adam Levitan in just a moment, as we do have an injury here in the Patriots game. And we talked about Goulet in the qualifier, went with Aaron Dobson, and Dobson is being helped off the field right now by the Patriots training staff. So yet another Pats wide receiver goes down to injury. And speaking of injuries, Adam, this is yet another week where we are heading into next week with a long list of injuries, a long list of players that may provide us value next week. You have Joe Flacco down. You have Justin Forsett in the same offense go down. You have Freeman in concussion protocol. Zach Ertz, concussion. Sharkhandrick West. Marshawn Lynch potentially out with a sports hernia. Maybe Case Keenum has a concussion. It sure seemed like it live on the field, but we'll pay attention to that as it comes down. A note from the DK playbook is that this upcoming week, we could have 7 backup QBs playing as starters. That includes Matt Schaub, Johnny Manziel, Brock Osweiler, Matt Hasselbeck, Blaine Gabbert, Mark Sanchez, and the aforementioned Case Keenum. We've talked about it a lot about value QBs. Is this something you like to see when there's this much value, when there's this much opportunity to get it right and potentially also to get it wrong from a value perspective?
Guys, like with the way the pricing's set up, I don't think we need to stretch for guys like Keenum and Schaub and guys like that. I think that when Matt Stafford is only 5,400 and Tyrod is only 5,200 and guys like that, we don't have to stretch it that far at the quarterback position. So I think we saw a lot of the winning lineups this week had Jameis, had Cam. They were kind of under the radar guys, but not the total bottom of the barrel guys.
So we do have some movement here as Danny Amendola continues to pick up some catches across the middle for the Pats D. And something to keep an eye on here is that Sammy Knoll is sitting in first place with 194.34, but he is also further down the list, I believe, in the top 20 now with a second team that has Gronkowski and Amendola at 180.84. So Matt Smith chasing himself at the top of this millionaire maker leaderboard with a potential gigantic payday. It is worth noting again that Matt Smith was the original. He was the first millionaire maker winner last year on DraftKings, and he is, as David pointed out, a very, very big Florida State fan and Tampa Bay Bucks fan. So Jameis Winston could be bringing home some big paydays for Matt Smith. We have these injuries. Then you have the injuries to running backs. Adam, you have Forsett with the broken arm. You have Freeman. You have Sharkhandrick West. Is this opening up more value, or again muddling the field a little bit further from a cheap perspective to where you may miss out on some of the middling guys who have good price tags?
Yeah, it's so hard to fade these high-priced or these high-volume running backs that are really cheap. I thought that fading Sharkhandrick West was a really, really thin play, and I know it worked out for people that did it, but this was a guy who was going to touch the ball 25 times against the league's worst run defense, and we could have a similar situation coming up next week with Thomas Rawls. I would not expect Marshawn Lynch to play. The Steelers do have a underrated run defense, I believe top 5 in DVOA, at least coming into last week. And I think that Thomas Rawls is going to be really hard to fade again, given how well he's played, given that he earned his way up the depth chart, beating out Kristen Michael, beating out Robert Turbin. So, I don't know. It's real hard for me to think about what to do when these running backs were in really good spots. If you tell me that a wide receiver or a quarterback is going to be 50% owned, then I think it's an easy fade in some of these really big GBPs. But running back, it feels harder to me.
We continue to keep an eye here on the leaderboard of the Millionaire Maker and across the board. David brought you guys up to date on a bunch of scores. We'll come back to David Kitchen in a little bit. We'll talk to Andrew Wiggins as well in a little while. We will not subject Adam to read between the lines this week.
I was going to ask you that. Just spare me.
You are spared. We're going to make David do it this week and see if Andrew can defend his title for a third week in a row. Looking at the Sunday only perfect lineup, Adam. You had Newton, you had Rolls, Doug Martin getting it done against the Philadelphia defense, DeAndre Hopkins, who we've mentioned a bunch of times, Julio Jones. There was a lot of talk about the matchup there and shadowing, and I know the injury came into play there as well, but Jones with a big day at 28 points. James Jones from Green Bay, Kyle Rudolph as a tight end play there, and J.J. Nelson being the Arizona wide receiver who paid off. Can you make heads or tails of that wide receiver situation out in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, if everybody was healthy, I think it would be a muddled situation, but at least one that we knew, hey, one of these guys is probably going to have a really good game. But with John Brown nursing dual hamstring injuries for last month, it's just messed everything up. And then Michael Floyd also pulling his hamstring and not being able to play. I thought that Jerron Brown would be the main beneficiary there, but it turned out to be J.J. Nelson, who's like 130 pounds. He sounds like he's your weight, Strafford. But yeah, I don't know. Carson Palmer just does it, and maybe naked Carson is the way to go these days.
Always fun when we can refer to Carson Palmer as naked Carson in any way, shape, or form. But yes, I am skinny. I have been skinny my entire life. I got up to 175 before my daughter was born. 6 months later, I dropped to 35 pounds, and I've stayed here ever since. So
good for you.
Well, it's good for me or not good for me.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'11" on a good day.
Okay.
I'm skinny. I'm a skinny person. I admit it. It is who I am. But Adam, we're going to bring in David Kitchen. You and Kitch have some catching up to do. I know there may be some Jonathan Stewart discussion to be had here. He may rib you a little bit. You've never known Kitchen to do that, but we're going to bring back up David Kitchen as well. Let you guys talk for a minute. I'm going to take a breather, get situated for halftime and for read between the lines with David and Andrew as Buffalo completes a nice pass down the sideline. So on to David and Adam as they talk a bit here about the NFL and tonight's wonderful Monday Night Football game.
You're muted, Dave. You're still muted.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I
have a question. Unless you have a topic, I have a question.
Oh no, I've got plenty of questions, but you go ahead. Share your question.
So in cash, I had Stafford and I had Eagles defense and I had Michael Crabtree at the 1 o'clocks. My late swap option was I could have gone straight Adrian Peterson for Rawls. I didn't think that was the play. I could have done a 2v2 with Rawls and Larry Fitzgerald instead of Amendola and Peterson. Am I a massive fish for not doing the 2v2? I didn't think I was that far behind after the 1 o'clocks where I needed to panic. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I was in a similar situation, 2v2, and I also had AP. And basically was AP and Amendola versus Rawls and Fitz or Rawls and Cobb. I forget which one it was. And I stuck with I just felt like at 6.8 AP was just a great play. The issue was I had Freeman pretty much everywhere.
Right.
And so I probably, since it was such a low scoring game, I would have saved myself by just swapping out Rawls for West or, knowing that my score wasn't going to be that high. Still with Freeman, I'm cashing most of my head-to-head games.
Yeah.
So I guess I should consider myself lucky, but I think it just depends on where you are in your lineup, and like how much like diversification do you need? If you know that Sharkandrick is going to be like in 60 or 70% of cash game lineups, potentially even more, and you're basically going to be punting that spot because you also have him and you're down so much, then you make the switch. But I don't think you're a fish.
Yeah, no, I had Freeman too. It's just he was like I did like a quick scan of my head-to-heads, and I thought he was like 60 to 70% owned in my head-to-heads too. Freeman was, so I wasn't really too concerned about that injury. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. And I went through my head-to-heads as well last night, and it's always good for people to kind of go through their head-to-head games before the primetime games. And I actually had a guy that at the very end of last night's game with that Carson Palmer play passed me. I think it was in a 109. And he had exactly the amount of the guy that I had, and that is Amendola. So I went with Robert Woods in that game because if I went with Amendola, I was just going to be going to lose. So at least give yourself a shot, I guess, would be the answer there. But man, it was such a brutal week with Freeman going down, and then just some of these. I mean, this is just caps off a bad week. But kudos to those people.
This is so standard. This Monday night snooze fest. You know what I mean?
It's like I hear a little bit of an echo here. Okay, but there was this theory a couple, not this past baseball season, but the season before last, of first game in Coors for the opposing team was terrible. And people were convinced that the first game in Coors, you don't play that team because, they're getting adjusted, whatever the reason is. And it was just really a one season kind of fluke deal. I think we're kind of seeing the same thing with this Monday night madness, just some fluke bad games. And it is what it is. But we do have questions. And I want to get to the first one at Dylan_Sifo. With Thomas Rawls' incredible performance this week, do you see him as a top threat, or does he still need to prove himself?
Oh, no. I mean, I already mentioned this. Thomas Rawls was an undrafted free agent, but a lot of the quote-unquote draftnik community was really high on Thomas Rawls, and he was a priority free agent, a guy that Seattle, made the call to on draft night and got him into camp, but he certainly wasn't guaranteed a spot. Goes ahead, not only wins a roster spot, but they go ahead, trade Kristen Michael, get rid of Robert Turbin, and install Thomas Rawls as their backup. And we've seen why. I mean, he runs pretty violently for a guy who only goes 5'8", and he also plays reasonably well in the pass game. So I don't think Thomas Rawls is any kind of fluke at all. I think a lot of sharp people were on him coming out of Central Michigan.
Yeah, would agree. And even like earlier this season, there was a game I think where he was kind of a dud. I know I picked him up earlier in the season in my one season long league and then dropped him. Wasn't too thrilled about that, but it is what it is. What is Tevin Coleman's floor and ceiling if Freeman missed next week? That from at Showtime Steve.
Yeah. Tevin Coleman has not been impressive, wasn't impressive before he lost the job to Freeman, and was not impressive in relief role yesterday. That said, this offense is very running back friendly. Kyle Shanahan loves to run through with that zone blocking scheme, also loves to throw the ball to his back. So, I'm not even sure who the Falcons are playing this week yet, but I think that Tevin Coleman is going to touch the ball 15 to 17 times if Devontae Freeman is out, and I believe he's around 4K. I think that's a very fair price.
What is the best strategy to separate your lineup from being too chalky in cash games? That from Puddin' Cheeks. Here's the question. Is there such a thing as too chalky in cash games?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I talk about this on the podcast. It's like, I don't worry about that at all. I do what I think the optimal plays are, and I let my opponents kind of try to get tricky. So no, I know it's been bad for the chalk the last couple weeks, or maybe the last 3 weeks in cash games, but that would not sway me off my chalk in cash strategy.
Yeah, I think the thing with cash games is that chalk means that a lot of the sharp people or experts are recommending this guy, or he'll be heavily owned. Well, typically there's a reason for that. There's a reason why these guys are going to be so owned. So I don't think you need to go contrarian at all in
Except
cash
for
game.
Gronk. Gronk's the only one that the experts recommend and never comes through like the side.
Well, yeah, death taxes and a Gronk letdown. That's this season for sure. Everybody ready for the Chris Harper explosion? Next week, will he be DK draftable? That from at NPD828.
I think we've come across a player that I do not know what team he's on. I think this is the first time all year.
So your answer is no then.
I don't want to say no because I don't even know what team he's on. Tampa? Dallas?
He's actually might be the Giant. I don't know. Not sure either.
This must be some kind of like trick question.
Or
he's on the Patriots.
Okay. He did go to Cal, because I remember from rostering NC and college football daily fantasy, he was often a guy that would get garbage time points when Cal was getting blown out because their defense was so bad. All right, next question. If using the let's make a deal door theory, is it smart when looking at two equal receivers, pick the road less traveled?
I believe that the road less traveled, if you have a similar projection, is always the way to go in GPP, but I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
Is using the let's make a deal door theory smart when looking at two equal receivers?
What is the let's make a door deal theory?
The let's make a deal door theory. Don't confuse this more than it already is. Let's make a deal door, like you would choose option number 1 or option number 2.
Oh, okay.
And he's saying, would you choose the one that's kind of unknown, the road less traveled, the one that no one really would pick? So yeah.
After the last couple of weeks, people are going to be all about like trying to be super contrarian because that's kind of what's hit the last couple of weeks. I think always trying to find a balance there is always going to be more optimal.
Do you prefer to play a guy on Monday Night Football so you have a pivot option and a potential good sweat? I am very guilty of this, and
playing anybody on Monday night again.
It hasn't been good to me. Let's just cancel Monday Night Football for the rest of the season. At Tim_Whitehead3, what are your thoughts on turducken?
I think it's kind of gross to wrap meat inside meat. I mean, I know this is not a very manly theory, but like when I see like a bacon wrapped like a hot dog or something like that, that is not appealing to me. I like, if I'm having one kind of meat, I like that separate from the other kind of meat. Like meat stuffed with meat really grosses me out, and meat wrapped in meat grosses me out too.
Okay, so turducken, like it's different because it's like turkey, duck, and chicken. That's like a different type of meat. You just said that you don't like anything bacon wrapped. I can't even wrap my head around that. Like bacon wrapped to anything is good. Like you just choose a food and wrap bacon around it.
Yeah, I like bacon on the side.
Adam,
I also like bacon, egg, and cheese. There's a place in Philly that, some places, if you go for a bacon, egg, and cheese, they microwave the egg. Like they take like egg out of like a carton, pour it into a thing, microwave it, and let it bubble up. But there's this one place that I found that actually like in front of you cracks the egg, makes the bacon, egg, and cheese that way. I don't know how I got on this tangent, but it's like my favorite thing to get in the morning.
Now, Adam, come on. Where are you buying microwaved? I know where you're going. We're not going to mention the name, but you need to go to a mom and pop shop for a breakfast sandwich. You don't get them at. And secondly, guys, I needed a Robert Frost take there on the road less traveled. I need some more culture here.
2 receivers in a yellow lineup.
And
finally, David is spot on. Bacon wrapped anything.
Well, what about, I'm okay with bacon wrap. What about when like they take like a turkey and stuff it with like fish or something like that? You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean there. I've never heard of that one, but I'm gonna say I'm on board for the turducken. I just needed to say you don't go for a microwave egg sandwich. Back to what you guys were doing. You were doing a great job. I just needed to voice my displeasure with Adam there.
Okay, and you want a Robert Frost take? I'll give it to you. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. I still remember that. I don't remember anything else, but I remember the first section.
Wow. Learning a lot about you. I high school basketball superstar, road less traveled scholar. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about you. J. Stu hater who hates bacon on meat. Get out of here, guy. All right, last question. Which backup player turned starter due to injury has the most DFS potential moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be Rawls, but I wouldn't completely dismiss Buck Allen, even though I think Matt Schaub is just a total train wreck. Buck Allen, especially this week, is going to get to face the Browns, who we know have had a ton of trouble defending the run this year. And even though I did not like Buck Allen because he was really bad in the preseason, and guys who are really bad in the preseason scare me, Buck Allen has played better in the regular season so far. So, yeah, I think Buck Allen might be less owned than Thomas Rawls and have a similar kind of projection.
Yeah, and also was catching passes on Sunday, even though he wasn't running that great. At least he's catching passes. And that offense is just a train wreck in general right now because of all these injuries. Yeah. That was from at BV Ritter 84. And next question, at DJW2033. After you blew me away with your favorite candy for Halloween, we must know your favorite Thanksgiving food. My favorite Thanksgiving food is, I guess it'd be dressing. Like, I really like the dressing part of things and putting a little bit of gravy on the dressing. I think I might be a little weird in that I cannot eat turkey without cranberry sauce. Like, I cannot do it. I have to have cranberry sauce with my turkey. What's yours, Adam?
Yeah, my mom makes this. It's called a green bean casserole. It's kind of like green beans and I think it's cheese and a little bit of potato and some breadcrumbs on top. It's really scrumptious.
You just acted like a green bean casserole was something foreign. In the South, that's like a given. Like every Thanksgiving has to have a green bean casserole.
Oh, really?
The way you just described it, my mom makes something called a green bean casserole. Yeah, it's like a staple in Southern.
I haven't been to the South very much. What do I know?
What do you know? All right. So that will do it for the questions section. If you have any questions for us, use hashtag DKTV and we'll get to them. And I think maybe that Dan is back on the line. And for those wondering, do you know what dressing is, Adam?
I assumed you were referring to salad dressing, which I thought was really weird.
No! What do you guys do?
Oh man. This is good. This is
Stuffing.
Good.
Stuffing, dressing, like same thing.
Yeah, I love stuffing. Yeah. Why wouldn't you call it stuffing?
I don't know. Why would you say green bean casserole like it was some sort of French delicacy?
It makes him feel special.
Why does Stratford, when he's describing decimal points, say spot? He's like 194 spot 32.
That's a good question.
Do you want an answer to that? Is that
yes. All right? Not a rhetorical question.
I need to make sure. I worked in finance for a while, and that was how our accounting department described dollars and cents was a spot 33, and it's stuck since then.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm not very worldly. I haven't been to the South. I haven't been in finance. I guess I have a lot to learn.
You're not missing anything in finance. I hear the South is nice, so I will go on board there. Gentlemen, great stuff. Amazing Robert Frost hot take. That was well done, Mr. Kitchen. We will get back to you momentarily. David, Adam, we're heading towards halftime. You do not have to do read between the lines this week. That is a victory in and of itself for yourself. But we will get back to David and Adam in just short order. We are going to go to another guest here, a participant in what was it, the 600K, I do believe, if I can find it here on the computer. We'll pull it up in a second, but it's Ali Medic who is on the line now to talk about his sweat tonight. It is coming on halftime here, and the Patriots finally got into the end zone. We'll talk to Christopher Olson at Ali Medic on Twitter, and he is in the 1 million play action, I should say, with Sammy Watkins going. Chris, how are you tonight?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Glad to have you on board as we keep an eye on all of the variety of opportunities here. You are currently in 11th place with 184 points, looking at Sammy Watkins with a goose egg thus far through the early proceedings.
And I went back and forth between him and Amendola like all day long. I must have swapped them 20 times, but we'll see what happens.
And was that in the end a ownership theory? Did you just stay away from Amendola because you figured he'd be the higher owned of the two, or did you expect more of an output from Watkins?
I was really kind of feeling that Watkins was going to get away from Butler a little bit, but so far it hasn't happened.
So you are currently sitting in 11th. You have Watkins, as we said, going. There are a couple of teams ahead of you, one with Brandon LaFell going. That is Shine 21. And then Eleanor, we're going to just leave it at Eleanor. I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest, is sitting on Brandon LaFell as well. So if you can get Sammy Watkins the ball here in the second half, you do have an opportunity to move up the leaderboard. In third place is a Danny Amendola owner. So you need to fade Amendola and Watkins Amendola and LaFell and push up Watkins here as we move forward. But as you look at tonight's contest and as you were going through the late swap opportunities, did you expect this poor a Monday night game? I mean, 10-3 at halftime. This seems like the Patriots finally broke through there right before half, but it's been a rough run to watch.
I really didn't think it would be quite this low. I was kind of hoping on it. I've been liking that Gronk's been shut down a bit. Kept some of the guys from running up the line on me. But, yeah, I really didn't think it was going to be quite.
I guess. And you are tied with a couple other with one other player at 11th place. Hopefully you can get a couple of Watkins points here in the second to at least move you up into the top 10. From what I understand, you are an Army medic. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So take me through, if you don't mind, sort of the career of an Army medic and a fantasy football player. How do those two work themselves? I mean, obviously everybody has jobs, whether or not you are working in finance, you're working full-time at a paint shop, or you are an Army medic. They all are full-time work and you do what you do, but it would seem your career is a little bit more intense, or could have the potential to be a bit more intense than mine editing some video from my home office.
Yeah. Well, they have these awesome phones with these apps nowadays. It makes it pretty easy to play from anywhere, which is pretty nice. I almost didn't make it home in time today to do this, but I managed to get off. So,
you are stationed currently in Hawaii. Is that correct? Or
yep.
What's that like? I've never been. I hear it's pretty nice.
Hawaii is amazing. We've loved it out here. The last few days it's been raining a lot, but it's 75 degrees year round.
So if you can, how'd you get into fantasy football at large, and how did you make the transition to daily fantasy if there was one?
Actually, I just started daily like 3 weeks ago. One of my buddies at work talked me into it, and it's been going great. I'm having a good time.
Seems like a pretty good investment thus far here as you're in the $1 million play action. Are you somebody who over the past 3 weeks has played multiple lineups each week, or are you focusing on the best lineup you can construct?
So the first week I was like, one lineup that I played in a couple different contests. And then last week I played a few more. And this week I think I had like 25 different lineups that I dropped into this contest.
So you were on the Rawls late swap. So you did pick up the rules of the game pretty quickly in those 3 weeks and paying attention. And then you had Jonathan Stewart, who we've mentioned a lot tonight, DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald. Was there one player that you were constructing your lineup around this week?
Well, this specific lineup was like my Panthers stack. It was, Newton, Olsen, their D. I was kind of hoping West would do a little bit more. I actually had Lynch in there until they announced he was out and swapped Rawls in, and I was really happy with that. Hopkins came through, even though he was possible. So it worked out pretty good. as long as it'd be even better if Watkins could do something here.
Well, Chris, we're looking for some Watkins action here in the second half. We hope the best for you. Thank you for your service, of course, and happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody out there in Hawaii on base and in your family as we head towards the holiday weekend.
All right, awesome. Thanks for having me.
That was Chris out there in Hawaii. Chris Olson, Ollie Medic on DraftKings, Ollie Medic on Twitter as well. For those who watched last week, you may remember the hashtag Team Martha. And in a little while, we will hear yet again from Martha Barker, and we will let David Kitchen talk to Martha. He didn't get a chance last week to talk to her, and they are both from the same neck of the woods down there in Tennessee. So a little bit of simpatico DraftKings players. We'll get together in the conversation there. But first, we're going to bring David and Andrew Wiggins on here. The DK Sweat Show. We have David back, and Andrew will join us momentarily. David, I know you are a member of Team Martha. Andrew got the tattoo last week, as was the winner of the Read Between the Lines segment. He got to get the Team Martha tattoo. It's not yet healed, so we don't want to show it yet on the Sweat Show tonight. We'll get to that later on in the year as Andrew gives me a puzzled look into the camera, not surprisingly. But we will play our game. Which is Read Between the Lines, where I read player lines to you guys, and you need to guess who it is. You'll need a piece of paper and a writing implement, or just honor code, whichever you guys would prefer. Andrew is saying no way. He wants his lucky pad, his lucky pen. He is ready to go. David, are you ready?
Ready.
Andrew, are you ready?
Not really, but I'm going to try.
All right. So Andrew's not ready, but he's going to try. First up, 103 rushing yards, the 100-plus yard rushing bonus, 1 receiving TD, 12 receiving yards on 1 reception, 21.5 DraftKings points. I'll read that again. 103 rush yards, 1 100-plus rush bonus, 1 receiving TD, 12 receiving yards on 1 reception. Andrew, we're going to go to you first once you're done writing. Kitchen is done writing. Andrew, your answer is...
Question mark. I got no idea.
Question mark was not the answer. David, your answer is Jonathan Stewart is correct. And the new guy up 1-0 on Andrew Wiggins. And
Adam picked the wrong week to quit because I don't have the numbers down this week.
We go on to the next one. Number 2, David, you're going to answer first here. 1 rush TD, 45 rushing yards, 16 receiving yards on 2 receptions, and 1 fumble. 1 rush TD, 45 rushing yards, 16 receiving yards, 2 receptions, 1 fumble. Mr. Kitchen, you are first to the floor. AP is correct. Mr. Wiggins?
Got it.
Got it. We are 2-1 through 2. We go on to number 3. 5 passing touchdowns, 246 yards passing, 16 rush yards. Good for 31.4 DraftKings points.
It's one of 2 people who had very similar lines.
5 pass TDs, 246 passing yards, 16 rush yards, 31.4 DraftKings points. The answer, Mr. Wiggins, is?
I was either Cam or Winston. I went Winston.
Winston is incorrect. Cam is the correct answer. David is 3 for 3. He's going to get up. We're going to get a victory lap here. And Dessert Life is ready to go here on the DK Sweat Show. Andrew, you need to go 2 for 2 here and fade 2 possible correct answers from David to tie this one up. So, 16 rush yards, 48 receiving yards, 2 receptions, good for 8.4 DraftKings points.
What was that again?
16 rushing yards, 48 receiving yards, 2 receptions, 8.4 DraftKings points. I believe it is your turn first here, Mr. Kitchen. Sharkandrick West is the correct answer.
Also correct.
So the score now 4-2, and David will win this one. We'll go to the final one, and we have 2 receiving TDs, 118 receiving yards, 5 receptions, and the 100-yard receiving bonus.
I just need to warm up a little bit. I know this one.
Whatever you need to say to make this all right, Andrew, is fine by me.
Yeah.
So you're up for David. You ready?
Yeah.
There's a very long answer. You're ready right now. We go to Andrew first.
Hopkins.
Hopkins is correct. 4-3 the score. David will concede the final with the answer of Wiggins is a loser. That is, of course, incorrect.
Poor sportsmanship.
For the game we're playing, but maybe it is correct in the game of life.
Dave, I was undefeated in this game. Never lost in the history of this game.
Well, it's because you're playing against guys like Levitan, who said green bean casserole.
Who also doesn't like things wrapped in bacon.
Yeah, just get out. There's like a infographic of states and meat, and bacon was the meat of Tennessee. So don't mess with us and our bacon.
There you go. So, Andrew, welcome to the show tonight. We dive right in here. A 10-3 game at halftime. I assume you have much the same take as most of us have tonight. But in the second half, we're looking for Gronkowski. We're looking for more of Amendola. And you do have Sammy Knoll, Matt Smith with a potential of a second team here making a run if Gronkowski and Amendola can get it done. Could have potentially 2 top 10 teams when all is said and done. What have you seen from the first half? And should we expect more offense here in the second?
I didn't really anticipate a super high scoring game. Buffalo defense is good. It's the second time they faced each other. I thought the Patriots defense, they gave up a lot of points last time, but they had a few takeaways. And I don't know, it just seemed like a spot where maybe there wouldn't be a ton of scoring, but I thought there'd be more than this. And I really thought that Gronk would be more involved, but he's been double covered a lot. They're jamming him. They're not making it easy for him. Pretty solid half by Amendola. I think he came in, 9 or 10 points. So that's kind of what you would expect from him, maybe a little bit better. But is it going to get higher scoring in the second half? Maybe. Probably a lot of the same, I think.
Andrew, lowest scoring. Who's more of a letdown, this game or Towns for Minnesota?
I had Towns everywhere tonight. I have some really nice teams too, and he got 2 fouls in the first, a third right away in the second, and then a fourth right away in the third. And I don't think he hadn't checked back in yet in the fourth when I came on. But
yeah, he's got a fourth. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's game over for him, and he was kind of my play of the night, really.
He was like 70% owned in cash games. So between him and this game with Amendola and Gronk, I mean, Amendola's doing okay, but if you had Freeman, you really needed a lot of Amendola.
Well, I don't know what you signed up for with Amendola if you're not happy with 9.7 at halftime. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you're looking for PPR at this point from Amendola. Lots of dumps over the middle from Brady and hope for more of the same in the second half. Gronkowski has dropped, I don't, by my count, at least a couple, if not 4 passes that seem somewhat catchable. One almost led to an interception. I know we talk about this a lot, but Dave, start with you. Are we getting to a point where Gronkowski just isn't meeting value enough times that he isn't the top option at tight end because of the price tag?
You talking?
I was going to start with Dave, but whoever wants to jump in. All right, Andrew.
Yeah, I think that he definitely hasn't been as involved this entire year. They were throwing a lot to Lewis, of course, Edelman. Edelman actually led the team in red zone targets before he got hurt, so that's an interesting stat. I thought that he would be more involved now. I thought maybe before they were keeping him back because they didn't really need him, but they're kind of getting to the point where they don't have that many options anymore. So I thought he'd be more of the game plan. Historically, against Rex Ryan defenses, they've done more of the passing, and Gronk has a pretty good history against them. I looked it up, and over the last 5 or 6 games, he had averaged 6.5 receptions a game, which is up from 4.8 for his career. And I think he averaged almost around 100 yards a game. So he had a history of doing well against Rex Ryan, even though he usually has good defenses. And I thought that he would be involved tonight. Even at that elevated price, you kind of could really buy whoever you wanted. And I liked him, but a lot of times you're comparing him to other guys. Like, he's basically the same price as Freeman, and you get some other elite people in that range where they're just getting more opportunity than he is. And if it continues like it has, and so far this game and up to this game, then I think you probably got to look other directions if he's going to stay up in that 8K range.
Andrew, great stuff. We're going to get back to you in a few moments, but first we're going to hand the reins over to David Kitchen, and we're going to get back to a a great moment from last week and see how the week this week progressed for Martha Barker. Hashtag Team Martha. David, the floor is yours to talk to a fellow Tennessean here on the DraftKings Sweat Show. Great story from last week that we're following up this week here on the DK Sweat Show.
Yes. Well, Martha, first of all, I would go ahead and say that I was cheering for you, but I had a little baby girl that was 2 days old, really just a day old in my arms. So I was watching with the sound off, which might have been more fun. But what part of Tennessee are you from?
Nashville.
I'm from Nashville.
Oh, okay.
The fact that you say Nashville and not Nashville means that you are really a Nashvillian. So, well, that's great. We can have like some bacon basically for Adam Levitan, who said that he hated bacon earlier. Yeah, as far as last week, why don't you just kind of tell people what happened last week for Team Martha to be such a popular thing on the internet?
Well, I don't know. They put me on Twitter. Everybody was tweeting.
Martha, do you know what a hashtag is?
No, not really.
Well, a hashtag is basically it's kind of like everyone having a billboard. And everyone had their billboard as Team Martha last week. And why did people tell people of how you did in the Millie Maker last week for people to kind of understand what Team Martha is all about?
Well, I won some money.
How much?
Do I have to tell it?
No, you don't. Just tell us what place you were in.
Well, I think I ended up in 22nd place, something like that.
Okay, and how much money did 22nd place win?
See, there you go.
Okay, we're assuming it's a decent payday. So talk to us about what happened after you won that money. What was your week like?
Wild. We had Thanksgiving dinner this week, and I told everybody, and everybody wants to play on DraftKings now.
Very nice. Well, get them. Make sure they use your link so you can make a few bucks out of them. What you had Thanksgiving already? What did your meal consist of? I basically, don't tell me that you went to Cracker Barrel. Tell me that you had some made from scratch food, and I want to know what it is.
Home cooked. I fixed dressing. We had slaw, pinto beans, fried okra, corn, mashed potatoes, and all kinds of desserts.
What was the okra fresh?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and some of these city slickers don't know that you want to get okra when it's little, not when it's big, because it becomes tough.
Right.
I actually had a garden with okra in it. Man, Martha, you and I are like best friends. I feel like we definitely need to get together and show people what a DFS party is in the South. And I'm glad also you called it dressing, because Adam Levitan, who was on earlier, didn't know it. Like a lot of people don't know up north that dressing means stuffing.
I don't stuff my turkey.
Okay.
I just make cornbread dressing.
Okay. But dressing was my favorite food for Thanksgiving. As far as your experience on DraftKings, remind people how long you've been playing on DraftKings.
5 weeks. Well,
Okay.
This is 6th week this week, and I really messed up this week.
Okay. Well, how did you mess up, Martha?
Well, I didn't know they were going to play a lot of rookies this week.
Okay. So who did you play? Who did you play that was not a good play?
Well, let's see. I had a tight end, Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't score a thing.
No, he did. He didn't. And a lot of people had him. Like even if it makes you feel any better, I saw like one of the most well-known experts, Matthew Berry, had him as well. Like a lot of people were on Eric Ebron, and he just didn't come through. And he and Amari Cooper were two big busts.
Exactly.
Did you have Amari Cooper as well?
No, I didn't have. Yes, I did. I had Amari Cooper. Yes, I did.
So you did have Amari Cooper.
Yes, I did.
Martha, are you an SEC fan?
Yes, I am.
Who are you a fan of?
I like Delaney Walker.
Okay. So,
and I like Mariota too. He's
Okay.
getting good. He's getting good.
Okay, so you're a Titans fan. If you ask nicely, I bet I could convince one of the DraftKings people to give you some tickets to a Titans game.
I have season passes.
Oh,
I have season tickets.
Okay, cool. So you and I will go to a game then, and we'll have some fun. Did you find out about DraftKings through the Titans and the DraftKings partnership?
No, I see it on TV. Saw it on TV and then just thought I'd try it.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of commercials back then, so you probably caught like one of the commercials that was like on at midnight or something.
Well, I'm up late.
All right. Well, Martha, appreciate you checking in with us. I'm sorry about Eric Ebron and Amari Cooper, but sometimes that happens, and you did have a good week last week. So
yes,
no matter what, we're all going to
do this again next week.
Yeah.
Play the rookies.
Well, I don't know about the rookies, but the backups. The backups have good value.
Okay.
But yeah, you've got to
this week, and I told everybody, and everybody wants.
Well, make sure that you give them your link when you go to DraftKings so that you can get a couple free entries into the Millie Maker.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's Martha, and you might know her as Martha from Team Martha. So appreciate you joining us, and hopefully you'll be winning the $1 million next week.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Dan, are you there?
I am here, and Martha never disappoints. She brings the goods. Great to see an early Thanksgiving dinner pulled off well for the Barkers down there in Tennessee. You'll have to show me an okra recipe at some point in the future, so I better understand the proper way to cook okras. And I don't know if you saw a inadvertent whistle in this New England Buffalo game, possibly negating a Danny Amendola touchdown.
Oh, are you serious?
So I'm trying to grab the details here, but a pass to the right side, Amendola beat his defender, and a whistle blew, and they had to call the play dead. But he had a lot of real estate in front of him, waiting to see what the official ruling is there. But they're going to bring on Gostowski for a long field goal attempt. But Amendola owners have a pretty big gripe on their hands right here.
Man, that could be that has serious implications.
Yep.
So.
Well, you look at Sam, I almost said Sam Smith, but Sammy Knoll here. He has his second team up into the top 10. He's now at 187.64 in ninth place. He also has the first place team at 194.94. Amendola touchdown there would have been gigantic, moving him up to the top.
Can we get Sam Smith on this show?
Sam Smith, or are we? What are we doing here? Are we mocking? Yeah, we're mocking.
You said Sam Smith.
I know. I don't have that connection.
Won't you stay with me?
It is.
That was my Sam Smith impression.
It was a good one. I appreciate that. But Martha, great time there, and we'll love to keep in touch with her. Team Martha was a fun time last week as we talked through her lineup, and she makes a roundabout great point of all of these secondary players these backups are playing, and if you have the time to do the research and you have the time to do the late swap with someone like Rawls, you're going to be sitting in a very good spot when it comes to these larger scale tournaments.
Well, and yeah, as far as the she said rookies, I think she was meaning as far as like the rookies to the to the starting lineup to the game, the backups. But, Amari Cooper and Eric Ebron were fine plays last week. Like, a lot of people were on both those guys, and they just did nothing. So, I mean, that happens sometimes. She shouldn't hang her head. She had a really good week the week before last, and sometimes it happens where you have a good week and the next week is kind of a letdown. But man, there were between Freeman and Amari Cooper and Ebron, and there were some people that, like Langford, got kind of lucky there at the end. For people that were chasing points, definitely got lucky with the late Langford touchdown. So we'll definitely see these Thursday games are going to be interesting, and then the games that incorporate Thursday to Sunday or Monday will be interesting as well.
Absolutely. We're going to step aside for a quick break, come back with some more guests. David and Andrew are hanging tight as well. Plenty still to get to here on the DraftKings Sweat Show right here on DKTV.
DraftKings for announcements, fantasy sports news, awesome giveaways, and more.
Hello? Oh, hi, Gertrude. What's that? Larry had a fall? It's his hip? Oh, how terrible.
What's going on?
Shh. Well, thanks for the call, Gertie. Goodbye.
Well, what is it?
It's Larry. Larry Fitzgerald. He sprained his hip flexor and is questionable for today.
Ha! Seems like you need a new wide receiver.
Well, let's find me a new receiver.
Back here on the DK Sweat Show on DraftKings TV, an inadvertent whistle. And that is what we're getting as a ruling and what we're getting across Twitter, obviously, on why that play was blown dead. And there's a lot of implications, obviously, from a lineup construction standpoint and a scoring standpoint here, as you have a lot of Amendola owners out there looking to move up this leaderboard, where you have not only Sam Enow, but you also have Blunt and Forte, and so on, a longer name there, moving up the leaderboard as well, up to 10th place. So we're going to have to keep an eye on if the NFL comes out with any sort of statement on it. Not that that will change results at this point, but will at least educate us a little bit as to what happened on the field. Looks like the whistle blew and the play was ruled dead before the pass was completed. So a tough road there for Amendola owners who are looking to make their way up the leaderboard and make sure that they get the best result possible for the lineup they constructed. And one of those Amendola owners here in the Millionaire Maker is Janky Jake. And he joins us now on the line here on the DK Sweat Show on DraftKings Television. How are you tonight? Two lineups going here in the Millionaire Maker that we're tracking, one with the Patriots defense and one with Danny Amendola.
Good evening, gentlemen. Doing well. Thank you. Yourself?
Doing well. Hanging in here, watching what seems like was an inadvertent whistle there that would have given you some more Amendola points, if not just the reception and the yardage, but potential for a big run after the catch there. Don't usually see that go against the Patriots, but it did cost the Pats. Take me through, if you don't mind here, lineup construction. You went with the Pats D in one lineup, Amendola in the other. How many lineups do you have in the Millionaire Maker, and how did your lineup construction come together this weekend?
Yeah, thanks for having me. There goes McCoy.
It looks like he's out of bounds just shy of the end zone. But talk to me about lineup construction. Yeah, what went through your mind?
A few lineups here are actually going pretty well. I'm one of the lucky ones that was on the Rawls change, and we got to give a shout out to my twin brother Sam on that. I was at his house yesterday for Vikings Packer party. I'm up in Minneapolis here, and he alerted me to the news that Lynch was out right before swap yesterday. So I made a few edits to and pivoted to Rawls. And it's obviously panned out here. I had some of the injury difficulty too with West and a couple other guys, but not too bad of a night so far.
As you watch, they're now ruling on the field that McCoy got in, so we'll see if that's challenged or not. So this will change a lot of our standings here because we had a few different Patriots defenses in the top 50, and they'll drop down a bit more, giving up the points and move other players around. Your team drops to 57th and still 74th with the Amendola. You are looking, obviously, for some Patriots offense and some turnovers from the Bills. Coming into tonight's game, though, did you expect what I perceive as a pretty awful game between these two teams? Is this chalking it up to the AFC East, to rivals, to getting down and dirty, or is this just the Monday night curse living long and prospering here week over week?
Yeah, I went in with pretty low expectations going into the day with a couple teams up relatively high, but obviously with New England playing, things could get out of hand pretty quick, and I thought I could be in 900th place before no time. But, realistically, it's kind of funny. With the top two teams I have, I feel like I'm kind of playing against myself a bit, where I have New England D on one, which was the top team going into it, and then after that, now it's kind of switching to rooting for Amendola. So funny game like that, but I tried to stay level-headed going into the night. My wife and I are going on our honeymoon to Europe in a couple of weeks here, so really was just hoping to get a few bucks for that and maybe stay in a nicer hotel. But it's been fun. You can't get too crazy about this stuff, and maybe New England have a pick six. The way this week's going, you never know what's going to happen. And really going into the night, I was more or less hoping for Gronk to have an off night, and so far so good, but there's still some football left.
There's been many a off Gronk night or Gronk day so far this season. The one big play against the Giants, when you think back to that game even, which was his large output of the season, was one big play. What was one play over the middle where the safety made a break on the ball instead of on the player, and he was able to bring the ball in and run the rest of the way. Obviously, we count all the stats. We don't take some out that we don't prefer to count. But you talk about some paydays here. 2 top 100 finishes would give you a $3,000 or $3,500 payday. Maybe not staying in the 5-star hotels throughout Europe, but it could upgrade you a little bit. Maybe get you.
There's still football left. Let's go.
Well, absolutely. I'm looking from the bottom up here and hoping that.
No, I know. I'm keeping it in control here. And before you let me go, I had a chance to meet Sam. I don't know if he's on or you're going to get him, but met him. Was fortunate enough to qualify to play in the main event 2 years ago with DraftKings, and they were gracious and very nice hosts, and met Sam out there. And if you're listening, Bud, congrats on potentially a second win here. So cheers and good luck to you tonight as well.
So what we do have is a development off that McCoy touchdown is that Noel 2148 has moved into first place with McCoy and Amendola on his roster, and Matt Smith, Sammy Noel moves down into second place, down 1.7 points. That looks like it will stick, but Matt does have a second team that is chasing with Amendola and Gronkowski, I believe, to double check this one. So we'll see if that turns out. Thanks so much for the time. Jake, best of luck on your honeymoon. That is obviously first and foremost. Enjoy the time, have some fun, and treat the wife well. And then hopefully you get back to the grind when you're back playing some DFS here in the States. We appreciate the time, and best of luck the rest of the night.
Thanks, guys. And Anna, if you're listening, tell her, you guys, let her know that it's okay for me to play when we're in Europe together, okay?
I have learned early in life to not get involved in the marriage details of others.
Fair enough. Thanks, fellas. Have a good night.
So I'm going to leave that one to you. I will say this. When my second daughter was born, I did not play. I was not playing daily fantasy. But I may have set a couple of season-long lineups in the hospital. She'll understand. She helps me do my research every week. for daily fantasy. She makes me read off the names to her and tell her why I want to rush them. She's actually better at it than I am, probably, but that's neither here nor there. She is 2, so that may tell you a lot about my current state of thinking. It was a rough week, folks. Daily fantasy was not kind to me. We're going to bring back in Andrew Wiggins. Andrew is back here on the DK Sweat Show. A big change there, Andrew. We get a big swing with the LaShawn McCoy touchdown. We have somebody with McCoy and Amendola, and we talked about it at the top of the show that there were probably a lot of guys who had McCoy or Watkins or LaFell, these sort of off plays we weren't really expecting. And there you get a McCoy touchdown, vaulting someone into first place ahead of Matt Smith. And now pretty much in the driver's seat with McCoy and Amendola, it would seem, 2 guys who are going to see a decent amount of volume as this game goes forward.
Yeah, and McCoy just missed catching a touchdown on that last drive, so he could be having an even bigger game. But maybe the game picked up time left, so who knows?
Yeah, lots of game left, and it looks like the Pats are really trying to get Rob Gronkowski involved. Lots of passes just off from Brady that Gronk hasn't been able to reel in. But if Gronk gets going, then you have Matt Smith with a second team that can move its way up. This has been that sort of game that we pay attention to and say how terrible it is, but is giving us a little bit of excitement here as we have 10 teams. Obviously, we have the top 10 teams. 4 of those teams still have PMR going. And then you have Matt Smith's team just outside in 11th place. So we have a lot of football, as you said, left to go. And you have Tom Brady, who is known to typically rise to the occasion and get his offensive players involved. Andrew, I did want to touch base with you on some of the storylines from this past week, all the injuries, the potential value coming up. We mentioned to Adam the fact that we're going to have at least 7 backup quarterbacks in play this week. Well, with the injury to Flacco, the news about Osweiler coming down, that Manning's going to sit another week. You have Blaine Gabbert, Sanchez, Keenum. Is too much value a bad thing here? Is it getting to a point where you're almost drawn into these cheaper plays, and there are so many of them that the potential for a grenade is just as high as getting potential gold from a volume perspective?
Yeah, well, it's kind of been the case all season where quarterbacks just haven't been that expensive. So if you want to pay up, you can, and if you want to go cheap, that's fine as well. Some of these backup quarterbacks, like given some of the other guys that were minimum, like I'm not sure this week, but or this upcoming week, but this past week you had guys like Stafford who did well, Sanchez who did okay, some guys who at least have a track record, opposed to guys like Keenum who don't really have much to look at and say, hey, he's capable of having a good game. So I don't know if you really need to scrape the bottom of the barrel. You can get those. I wouldn't quite call Stafford an average quarterback, maybe slightly below average, who at least has some reasonable upside. You can get for really cheap. And then when you have these backup running backs coming into play, that's opening more up. So you can really kind of do whatever you want. Last week you could. If you wanted a player, no problem, because you can fit someone in like Amendola at 4.1. I know Rawls coming up this week is 4.5. So he'll be a very heavily owned player, and he'll allow you to kind of open up other positions as well.
And we get this Manning news against the Patriots, and everybody wants to watch Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady, the whole narrative there and situation. But an interesting theory I saw, and I honestly think it was on Reddit on a fantasy football thread, and I think Nando DeFino was the one who tweeted it out and brought it to my attention at least, was that Gary Kubiak wants to run the ball. We know that. And one of the things that theory-wise, from a big back perspective, and this goes from my perspective as well for Chris Ivory with the Jets, is when a quarterback's in shotgun formation, it's harder for a big back to get going from a running perspective. Whereas you get what's used to be called a scat back or a smaller back, a shiftier back in the shotgun, he has more potential. Now you have Osweiler moving under center more. Do you see value returning to Ball and CJ Anderson in Denver, or has there just been such a large gap in productivity there that it's not worth even trying to piece these? Am I reaching here is basically what I'm asking.
No, I don't think so. Even though their offense struggled this week, they were still able to run the ball pretty effectively. They came in at just under 5 yards per carry, which is probably one of their best, if not the best games of the year. maybe that one game where Hillman ripped off the 90-yarder would beat it. But, yeah, I mean, the run game was working like they wanted it to. I think that Osweiler at least gives the threat of a deep ball, which you didn't have with Peyton. And he can roll out, which is the thing that Kubiak likes in his offense as well. So you got all these pieces that maybe point to Brock being a better fit in the system there in Denver. And if that's the case, I do think they'll be able to run the ball effectively down the stretch. And that's important as it gets colder out and teams are more beat up and worn down. I could see Hillman and actually CJ Anderson having a pretty decent finish of the year here.
And do you see the same from somebody like Ivory? Different situation. The Jets offense not nearly as talented as the Broncos. Well, I mean, you do have Decker, you do have Marshall, two very good wide receivers, and you saw what Ivory can do. But now Fitzgerald with the injury to the thumb, he's been in the shotgun a lot more. Do you think the theory holds there as well, that unless Fitzgerald is under center a little bit more, you need to stay away from somebody like Ivory?
Yeah, well, I mean, so far not so good for Ivory since Fitzgerald got hurt. So that's a really interesting idea, and I think it definitely could be true. And I think also with him, there's more risk because maybe if he doesn't get it going that day, and I think that was the case this week. He just didn't have very many carries. So if you're not getting the carries, you're not going to get the production, and it's kind of this downward cycle there. So that's something to watch, and he's been banged up as well. So I think that's been playing a role. But he's not a guy that I've been on recently, and I don't really see that changing.
3 games on Thursday. How is it to do this fast turnaround? I know you focus a lot on the NBA, and you're trying to sort of stand between the line or stand over the line of being on both sides. But when you have this quicker turnaround to very large tournaments on Thursday, do you think that is a benefit where you have less time to overanalyze big slates? Or do you see it as a detriment to how you can prepare for Thursday and then even prepare for Sunday slate?
I don't think it really matters because everyone's on the same playing field here. It's only 3 games that you have to worry about. So it's not like you're analyzing a full slate. I always really enjoy the Thursday DFS slate because it's a one-day game. It's compact. You're playing some of the fringe players because you got to fill out an entire roster. So if you don't have a player in that play, I can assure you someone else in the tournament definitely has him. I mean, it's like Dobson. I mean, I guess Goulet has Dobson, but I don't think too many people out there have Dobson. So a lot of the games, half the plays don't matter. But when you compact it down to those 3 games, everything matters, and it's pretty exciting.
The Tampa Bay, you get a sack for the Patriots, so that'll help the teams that have fallen out of favor here with the Pats giving up 10 points, maybe push them back up the leaderboard just a bit. The Tampa Bay-Philly game, I know a lot of people like the Philadelphia defense because they are a team that takes the ball away a lot. But as we've learned, takeaways are variant. You can't predict them. You don't know what you're going to get. Do you see some lessons here in the Philadelphia-Tampa Bay game? One, on what upside Jameis Winston may have as a potential play later on, and even further, what we get out of the Philadelphia defense and how much of a variance you have week over week with defenses, high price, low prices, and in between.
Yeah, and I said this on the matchup show last week that Jameis, maybe he's getting a little bit of an unfair reputation for turning the ball over because he was terrible the first few weeks of the year. But then he went like 4 or 5 weeks without throwing an interception. He did throw 2 last week, but he's been a lot better about taking care of the ball. So that was one thing I was thinking about. Now, that being said, I still thought the Eagles' D was a pretty darn good play just because of the price point they were at. You had them and the Jets at 3K. And then you could either go down to like those 2K teams like the Bears, and I don't usually like completely punting on defense. Or if you want to spend up, I mean, the Seahawks are kind of expensive, and Carolina was kind of right there in the middle. So to me, I really thought Philly was the best play. But, you know, it doesn't always work out. And that's the thing with defense. There's a lot of variance there. And that's one of the reasons why usually you don't maybe want to spend a ton of money, because the Seahawks were in a great spot, and they ended up with 6 points, I believe. They didn't get a touchdown, and, you know, they didn't have as many stacks or whatever. And that's not a bad performance from a defense, but when you spend $4,000 for them, it's not really what you signed up for. So tough outcome if you played the Eagles D, but I think the process was okay there.
Andrew, your favorite Thanksgiving dish, what is it? What are we doing in the Wiggins household come Thursday?
Oh man, I'd like it all. I mean, the turkey with some cranberry dressing on it. I mean, that's pretty good. And the mashed potatoes, and I pretty much load up on everything, so I'm looking forward to it.
Are you a canned cranberry or fresh cranberry?
Oh, of course, you want the fresh stuff. I don't make it, so I'm at the mercy of whoever else.
I'm gonna be honest. I am a processed cranberry fan.
Get out of here.
I am, and I will own that till the day I die. I am fan of the can. You get the opener, you slide it out. The gelatin just slops there down on the plate.
I am too. I am the same way.
Kitchen, I can see over there stuffing your face. You're eating. You get so excited at the idea of canned cranberries that you got.
You know what this is? This is chicken casserole, as Adam Levitan would call it.
I'm a big fan of broccoli. We usually do a broccoli casserole for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's good too.
We get stuffing. We get they do cauliflower. They do cheese cauliflower a lot of the time in the house. A head of cauliflower, melted cheese on top. I stay away, a little bit too healthy for me, even with the melted cheese on it. But
cauliflower is a good mashed potato substitute for everyone
Yes.
who wants to lose weight, like me.
The wife does.
Oh, you can eat the mashed potatoes. They're too good to pass up.
The wife does a cauliflower mac and cheese, which is quite good as well.
Oh.
Chops up the cauliflower into the mac and cheese. I don't do it. She does it. But David, you're on board with the canned cranberry.
Yeah, and my mom makes the homemade stuff, and I'm like, Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's weird because as far as the family that I married into, they just did not have like any sort of cranberry or anything else. So it's like, it was the first Thanksgiving. I was like, this turkey is really good.
It's a little dry.
But
I could
then
use
it's
some
like-
cranberry sauce.
After we got married, I had to have like a heart-to-heart with my wife. And I was like, listen, we got to have cranberry sauce. So like every Thanksgiving, they remember to bring cranberry sauce for me. So I appreciate
There it is. That's a good in-law family right there. They take care of you. We appreciate that.
Sure do.
When that happens. It can be holidays can be a rough go with the in-laws. It can be good or it can be terrible.
I lucked out with some good in-laws. So they're also Southern from Kentucky. So like it's not when we go over there, they come over here. It's not just Thanksgiving that's a big meal. It's like they do
every meal is a big meal.
Yeah, the country ham and biscuits and everything else. I mean, it's just a big production. So you see me right now, and I'm really skinny. It's not going to be that way next week.
Just like that. It's 1 week.
I'll probably be chubby next week, Dan.
Okay. We'll still love you.
Well, there'll be more of me to love, so it's good.
I'm hoping for the same. I try. I really do. So, David, looking at these scores, we have Amendola, who's at 15.6 points, 8 receptions, 76 receiving yards. That inadvertent whistle aside, lots of movement here, though, and lots of opportunity for things to change as you have a Shady McCoy owner now in first place. Wonder if he is also a Florida State fan with the name of Knowles2148. We'll keep an eye on that. But if you can here, looking at the variety of opportunity in even the top 10, we have Amendola. Looks like we have LaShawn McCoy. So we have a lot of different scenarios here that could play out over the next quarter and a half of football.
Yeah, and Sammy Knoll needs Gronk. I mean, who would have thought, except for everyone who has had Ross Gronk in the past, but who would have thought that Gronk would be laid such an egg? He's 23.4% owned in the Millie, which kind of tells you something because he was high priced. Like, it just goes to show you that the lack of tight end options this week. And so him being 23.4% owned, people are just tilting so hard right now. And it's perfectly acceptable. So yeah, you've got Amendola in fifth place with Snowball, and first place, of course, has Amendola and Shady. So that's why Knowles2148 looks to be the front runner, unless Gronk can just go on this magic run, because Sammy is 10 points back with Gronk versus Shady.
I don't know if you need a magic run. You just need a touchdown.
Oh, okay. Well, a touchdown is 7 points, Andrew. So
Well, how about a 20-yard touchdown?
okay. Well, there's still the fact that Shady is still playing, so he needs 10 points better than Shady McCoy, and right now he's got 2. So yeah, Gronk.
The Patriots are driving right now.
It's
So
magical. It's freaking magical.
you know what the other thing about Gronk that I found when I was looking at his numbers this week, that everyone keeps talking about how bad Gronk has been, but he's on pace to do better he's doing better per game this year than last year. He's on pace for about 200 more yards and I think a touchdown and a half more and the exact same receptions. So the demise of Gronk is they just got targeted deep too, but it was a little overthrown.
A wheel route there from the Patriots to Gronkowski. They've been splitting him out wide a lot. They just brought him into the backfield, offset on the tight end spot finally. He's been trying to get it going, but it looks like it may be a Gronkless evening, Gronkless summer, Gronkless fall, whatever we're looking at here. We will.
It's not a Gronkless summer. I'll go ahead and tell you that.
That's fair. I may have misspoke there. Gronkless fall. And it's interesting, Andrew. The perception is that he's been a disappointment probably 8 out of 10 weeks. And yet, week over week, his stats say otherwise. And this will be a bit of a changer there with Amendola with the big reception over the middle and run after catch. We'll keep an eye on the leaderboard changing here. Patriots set up for offense here in the red zone. But how much, I know we talk about it a lot, but perception seems to be playing a lot of in how we play and how we pick our teams. And Gronkowski probably may be under-owned next week because of another underwhelming performance.
Well, yeah, again, I mean, let's be careful because he could score a touchdown here if this one comes back. But he does have 8 touchdowns on the year, which is a ton. Now, granted, 3 of them were in one game. I think week 1, maybe week 2. But I think people will keep going back to him because the cap is there. And frankly, the other options just aren't that compelling. I thought that was a really big thing this week. Even though Gronk maybe wasn't an awesome play, you're looking at risky guys like Kelsey or Gates or Reed, who none of them were in like great spots. And then Olsen just was like a little too expensive, and he's kind of consistent, but kind of not consistent. Like if he doesn't catch a touchdown this week, he has a terrible game. I think
he's more consistent than Gronk is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys. I know I'm bitter, and part of it is because of Karl Anthony Towns and Drummond's second half just doing nothing. Listen. Gronk has been fine as far as per game, yada, 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 Andrew's stats, yada, yada, yada. For his price tag, he's not been fine, especially with the way that tight ends are priced on DraftKings when you get guys like a Delaney Walker who are less than half of Gronk's cost, when you have guys like Jordan Reed that are less than half of Gronk's cost, when you've got other tight ends that are outperforming him every week. The week that Derek Carrier was 2,500 had exactly as many points as Gronk did, who was 3 times as much as he was. So for the price, Gronk has not been okay. And sure, he has scored a lot of touchdowns, but like you said, Andrew, 3 of them were that Thursday night. So they came in factor into the Millie Maker. So, let's stop saying that Gronk is like anything magical this year because he's not magical.
I didn't say he was magical. I just said I don't know what people are expecting out of him.
The second time that we've heard magical from David in the past 5 minutes, the magical run, and now that Gronk is magical. A development here where James White is into the end zone for New England. They ran the hurry up and got in with White.
Are you kidding me?
Rex Ryan is not happy. He is not pleased because the Pats got down the field much faster than anyone else on his defense. About 4 guys still behind the line of scrimmage on that touchdown run. But that puts, Snowball 2247 now into second place. Knowles 2148 jumps even further out in front at 207, spot 45. Snowball at 198. Sam Enol has 4th and 7th place currently, with his 7th place team being his one that started in 1st on the night. And then he jumps up to 4th place as well. Let's go to Snowball 2247 now here on the DraftKings Sweat Show, talking about a big run here into the top 5 and up to 2nd place. This has been a crazy run here, Brandon. And you are now sitting in 2nd place with 198, spot 6-8. Now, with in front of you, the first place team also having Danny Amendola. Second is somewhat your ceiling at this point, but it's a pretty good ceiling to be hitting at this present moment in the evening.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. I'm hoping Shady fumbles a couple times in this game. Maybe I have a chance, but second place is a nice finish.
Big run from Amendola over the middle there to set up that touchdown. And when you came into this game, you were hoping for Amendola to be a target monster. You're hoping that he was going to pick up the PPR. There, he picked up some racks, some run after the catch. He has 23.7, 9 receptions, 117 yards, pretty much everything you could have asked for from Danny Amendola.
Yeah. I wish that whistle didn't blow on that 70-yard potential touchdown there. That would have helped out.
It would have helped out, but I'm a big believer in, hey, if that happens, maybe you don't get the catch later, and who knows how gameplay goes. 17-10, Buffalo getting the ball, and there is so much time here left that we have a lot of sweat to do here, Brandon, with 5 minutes left in the third quarter here. Plenty of time left to go and plenty of offense probably still left on the field. So, as you said, looking for some fumbles from McCoy and potential more from Danny Amendola. We'll check back in with you in a little bit, but as of right now, great run to the top of the leaderboard, and good luck holding it there the rest of the night.
All right, thank you. And I'm hoping Gronk keeps doing what he's doing.
I think you hope he keeps not doing what he's not been doing, which is that was a double negative. Doesn't make any sense. I apologize for it. But hoping that Gronk continues to not catch the ball is basically what we're trying to do there. Bringing back in Andrew Wiggins to continue our discussion on tight ends. And I think this is a good one if we can bring David back in as well. I know David ribbing Andrew a little bit there on the comparison of all tight ends, but we go through these seasons, Andrew, and we try to figure out where we can find value, right? We try to find where to save some cash to spend elsewhere. As much as his season-long stats and even some of his game average stats are good, to David's point, the price tag and what you're getting for that price tag and not being able to roster elsewhere, doesn't that now force your hand at least to reevaluate Gronk as even being potential in cash games?
Well, I've considered it more lately because the cap has gotten so loose with some of these value plays like Amendola, Stevie Johnson, Charkandrick West this week, that those guys were good enough plays that they were comparable to a lot of guys that were 6K, 5 or 6K, even though they're around 4K. So the way I was looking this week was save with them because I thought they were pretty much must plays. And then you're kind of looking around saying, all right, where am I going to spend my money? You had Julio Jones up there, and maybe not the best matchup, but it's Julio Jones. And you had Gronk sitting there, kind of same thing, like not the best spot, but hey, it's Gronk. And I got to spend my cap somewhere. So I've looked at him a little bit more just with all this value emerging recently.
So that's a bigger question, and either of you can answer this from how much you guys play and how long you've been playing both football and DFS at large. But are we too tied to the salary cap? Are we too tied to zeroing out our lineups week over week when this much value presents itself that we're not trying to get the best potential lineup together rather than the closest to a salary cap and the best potential? I'll start with you, Dave, and then you can toss it over to Andrew.
No, I don't think we're too tied to it. I think it makes sense just from, as far as if you can leave $400 or less, then that's okay. And typically we do like to zero out the lineup. Sometimes that is bad. Like if it's $100 or $2 difference and you want to like get potentially a better defense, that sort of thing, that will come back to haunt you. But I don't think from like a projected point standpoint, I don't think it's a case most of the times where it's where you want to leave a lot of money on the table, because even look at like quarterbacks, even though the range of outcomes are similar, if you have $1,000 left, you can pay up. I guarantee you for like 99% of the scenarios, you could pay up for a quarterback $1,000 more that it has a higher projection than below or than the quarterbacks you have. So I don't think that we're too tied to the salary cap. And I do think, though, that we are guilty of trying to zero it out sometimes instead of leaving a couple hundred on the table.
How about yourself, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. It's interesting sometimes in tournaments, maybe you can leave a little bit more. I think Dave said $400, but I'm open to leaving. I wouldn't leave more than 1,000. But the good thing about doing that in a big tournament like this is that you guarantee that no one else can have the same lineup as you, because who the heck else is going to leave $800
Except
on
you
the table?
just gave away the strategy, Andrew.
Yeah.
Way to go.
So I wouldn't do it often, but in extreme circumstances, it's okay. And cash games, yeah, I mean, like they've said, you don't want to maybe go from a play that you like a lot to one that you don't like so much just because you've got $200 and he costs more. Stick with what you like, but don't. Usually there's an upgrade you can make somewhere.
We are going to step aside for a break. We're going to catch our breath, and on the other side of the break, we'll talk to Matt Smith, a.k.a. Sam E. Knoll, sitting in 4th and 7th place currently in the Millionaire Maker. All that and more coming up after this.
DKTV guys, we got a great episode for you here. I am pumped to be joined by Matt Smith, also known as Sammy Knoll. Matt, you are now the newest fantasy millionaire. How are you feeling, bud?
Well, pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's really great to have you, and certainly I know this week after winning has been a whirlwind of events. That's my first question to you. What's kind of been the reaction of your friends and family, and if there's anything that's like strange or anyone that's come out of the woodwork or any interesting stories for the last couple days here?
Nothing really I can think of, but my Facebook's definitely been crazy the last few days, and I don't know, it's been almost like a dream. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's awesome, man, and certainly I know we're friends on Facebook. It's cool to see all the support that you're getting and the awareness that you're bringing to your friends and family, obviously with your big win. So let's talk about the lineup here real quick. A pretty interesting day. I was happy to see it. I mean, I'm a huge Broncos fan, so seeing Peyton Manning and Demaryius Thomas go off was awesome. Talk us through kind of your approach on the lineup and all the lineups that you made.
Well, I did 60 lineups, and I mean, I got to give a lot of credit to Roto Experts. I subscribed to their thing after I got killed in week 1, and their cheat sheets were pretty much my biggest guide towards doing all my lineups. And every single one of the guys I took were mentioned on their cheat sheets, either as a value guy or a tournament guy. So I just kind of balanced some of both and went from there.
Oh, that's awesome, man, and certainly a big day of scoring after the Peyton Manning put up his career high for passing, and Demaryius Thomas had that huge day. At what point were you starting to feel like, hey, this is a really, I have a really good shot to win this thing?
I mean, honestly, I didn't even notice this particular lineup until I think it was when Demaryius Thomas had that first bomb, and I noticed it shot way up the standings, I think, to 400th place, and I had 1 million player minutes left. So that was when it started to get interesting, and then Demaryius Thomas had that second bomb later on in the game, and then I really shot up the standings and thought I had a shot. But
yeah, no, absolutely, man. Were you watching that entire Broncos game, or were you watching Red Zone?
I was watching Red Zone. Yeah, they were going back and forth all over the place, but yeah.
How nervous were you? I think the scariest point was probably that last touchdown the Red Zone threw. What was it? Did your heart jump? I mean, talk us through kind of those last seconds there. I saw you tweeted, "Phew," at the very end there. So talk us through that kind of last minute there.
Oh yeah, that last drive. I saw Deshaun Jackson at the bottom of the screen, and then he kind of disappeared from the screen, and then they threw the touchdown in that direction. But thankfully, it was number 12 and not number 11. But
yeah, absolutely crazy, man. It's so crazy that you turn $27 entry into $1 million in basically 36 hours. It's just got to feel absolutely surreal. So one last thing before we let you go here, man. Talk us through kind of what you would be doing if you're getting into, or if you're approaching this tournament. If you haven't played, or maybe you've played a couple lineups before, you mentioned you made 60 teams. Talk us through some of just the general strategies that you like to employ and stuff that sets you up to win $1 million.
Oh, one thing I've learned from baseball really is you want to like be contrarian in some way. Like you don't need to have all your guys to be contrarian, but just like a healthy mix of some under the radar guys and popular guys. Like because otherwise it's almost impossible to get lucky on one of these things. But when you have a Arian Foster that's 0.8% owned or whatever go off, you're at a pretty big advantage compared to the rest of the field.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of value in being contrarian, and it certainly paid off. You had some low-owned guys that really had big games. And the interesting thing, too, is I felt like your lineup contained a lot of guys that you would think of, though, too. Like, it wasn't just totally off the radar. You're not just picking someone that no one's going to have, but picking guys that are still good plays that are just much lower owned. So
right.
That's a great strategy, and I'll get you out of here with this. And I know I said that was the last question, but what's going to be the biggest difference in your life going forward? I know you mentioned we've talked before about buying a house potentially with your wife and or buying a new house. What's going to be the biggest change in your life now that you're a fantasy sports millionaire?
I mean, nothing particular. It's just nice to have like some stability, like where I don't have to worry about like a big downswing in poker or a big downswing in DFS is gonna like make me go busto. But yeah, pretty much just having the stability and maybe moving into a new house, and that's about it.
Well, very cool. And, guys, look out. Sammy Noah's been a beast on DraftKings all year. Just took down the million. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Congrats again, dude, and thanks so much for coming on DKTV.
Well, thanks for having me.
Back here on the DraftKings Sweat Show, DKTV, we bring in Matt Smith, Sam E. Knoll here on the DK Sweat Show. You saw the video there, the first ever millionaire maker on DraftKings.com, and he is back in the sweat seat here as he has two lineups in the top 10. Matt, tonight you have a team that has dropped now from first down to seventh, but a second one that you are looking for Rob Gronkowski to give you pretty much anything at this point. 10 points from Gronk and fading everybody else here would vault you back into first place. It seems as though Amendola now on the sidelines. This is a prime spot for Rob Gronkowski to come up big for you.
Yeah, you would hope so, but it hasn't been too good this game so far. But there's still a long way to go.
A long way.
Get something.
A long way indeed, with a minute to go heading towards the fourth quarter. The Pats seem pretty set on running the ball here on this drive thus far. But, Matt, talk to me about having two teams in the top 10 here. Dropping out of first place, I'm sure not ideal, but seeing the second team make the run up and having a fourth and seventh place team seems like it could be a pretty good night for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what I've been hoping for so far, but there's still potential there. If Gronkowski can get a touchdown or something right here, you never know. But I think I just need a Gronkowski catch to move up to second. So
yeah, the difference here is 198 spot 68 down to your 197.64. So a catch from Gronk would give you a lot, but targeted there. And it seems as though as much as Gronkowski tonight, Matt, has struggled, Brady has been a bit off when targeting him as well. Lots of low throws and a lot of what seemed like quick throws to Gronkowski.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. I wish Jameis was the one that was throwing to him, but
David Kitchen brought it up before, Matt. Obviously, we know you are a Florida State fan. You are a Jameis Winston fan. How good a feeling is this to construct a lineup with one of your quarterbacks, one of your favorite college teams' quarterbacks, and have it succeed at such a high level?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I've watched Jameis for every game for the last 3 years, so I knew what he was capable of, and I think I did like my first 30 or 40 teams were all Jameis Winston stacked with either Evans or Vincent Jackson. So had a good week so far, but we'll see what happens here.
How many of your lineups, you have 0.5% own Jameis Winston? Is that all you in the Millionaire Maker? Are those all your teams?
I think I'm a big percentage of that. I think I did around 30 Jameis teams out of like 79 teams that I did.
So. All right. So there are a few more owners out there on Winston, but you may have the lion's share of that ownership. We see Amendola potentially with an injury. We saw him on the sideline during that last trip down the field, and now Gronkowski is your focal point. It's 20-10, New England on top. I assume, Matt, at this present moment, you're looking for some Buffalo points. You want Buffalo to make this more of a game and get the Patriots throwing the football yet again.
Right. Yeah, I mean, don't really want much more from McCoy, but outside of that, anything from Buffalo wouldn't be terrible.
And Matt, we watched the video leading into this here on the Sweat Show. We've all seen it from last year. I had the opportunity to talk to you on a podcast I host last year as well. Being the first Millionaire Maker winner and now seeing how daily fantasy has grown over the past year and now being back in this position. What's the past year been like, and what's your sort of view on this growth and how week over week we crown a new Millionaire Maker?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome outside of the negative attention that has come up recently. But other than that, it's been great.
And what has changed in your neck of the woods after winning that $1 million? Have you been playing more volume, less volume? How have you taken that big win and transitioned it into sort of everyday life?
I mean, I moved into a new house and everything's good around here. I'm playing a little bit more volume, but I wouldn't say a ton more than last year, but definitely a little bit more.
Matt Smith, Sam E. Knoll in 4th and 7th place, as you said. Gronkowski reception at this point would move you up into 2nd place. We've talked to Snowball 2247 earlier tonight. He has Danny Amendola going. So you are full in on Gronkowski here the rest of the way as we try to understand what may happen here in the 4th quarter. A lot of game left. Matt, one of the things we love to focus here on is how the setup for daily fantasy lineup construction, how you go about it and where you are. Have you built out a man cave? Have you built out a special space for yourself to build lineups every week?
Yeah, I was actually in LA for the FanDuel Playboy thing this weekend. So I was doing lineups at 7 a.m. out there on Sunday, but back home now after a red-eye flight this morning in the man cave. I can show, got the TVs back here all on the
it's a little different for a Monday night game when there's obviously one game going, but it is an impressive setup and one that I'm sure comes in handy. Do you play NBA and NHL, or are you strictly an NFL player in the fall?
I do play NBA. I don't do NHL, but NBA, golf, baseball, and NFL are my main things, and I'll dabble in college football and other stuff, but I don't know anything about hockey.
Fair enough, and that's always a good recognition when you know what you don't know. You can stay away from making mistakes therein. So I appreciate that insight. Matt, appreciate the time. We're going to keep you on the line, if you don't mind, to keep track of what you have going. If Gronkowski can maybe get those wheels moving. Maybe you went out partying last night or something. I don't know. But maybe him and Brady can connect and give you another leap towards the top of this leaderboard. And we'll check back in with you later on in the show.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, Matt Smith, Sam E. Knoll, 4th and 7th place here on DraftKings, the Millionaire Maker, as the Danny Amendola and LaShawn McCoy show has changed the leaderboard here and across a lot of our tournaments tonight. You look at a tournament like the 600K kickoff special, everybody now has player minutes remaining. So you have the 600K special where 205 now in first place, a user by the name of Mike Rod. And this is all things moving forward. And you check over to the Millionaire Maker, and we see here Snowball 2247 in second place has Danny Amendola. First place is Knowles 2148. Plenty of changes still to come, I am sure, as we have Gronkowski and Amendola, LaShawn McCoy, and the whole gang here. Haven't seen an update on Amendola on what his injury may or may not be. We'll keep an eye on that as we move forward. As we wait for more action on the field, we bring in Andrew Wiggins for more action here on the DK Sweat Show. How is that for a segue, Andrew? And for an introduction, I didn't use the word magic, though, so at least magic. So I think we're in good shape there. this is, I know we joked a bit about tight end and we joked a bit about Gronkowski, but there just seems to be something off tonight. There have been so many throws from Brady that are low or at his knees, and the ones that are hitting their target, Gronkowski can't bring in as what looks like a sack there from the Patriots. Again, this is all moving parts here throughout the fourth quarter, so we'll try to keep you up to date. We'll keep David Kitchen on the line. He'll bring you some score updates in just a moment as well. But getting outside the whole cheap tight end, expensive tight end, when you have someone as talented as Rob Gronkowski and someone as talented as Tom Brady, it's a bit of a shocking outcome tonight. There's just so much going on tonight that just doesn't seem to be clicking.
Yeah, I think it's more on Brady than Gronk. Those throws haven't been catchable. They've been behind or low. There's not great throws, and I think a lot of it has to do with Brady getting a lot of pressure. And also there's been double coverage on Gronk lots. Like the last one, it was just a quick out in the flat. And first of all, Brady had no time. And then secondly, Gronk was not open. And so it just wasn't a play that was meant to be. And I think probably a lot of it has to do with Rex Ryan just scheming, saying, hey, they don't have much left there. They've got Amendola. Okay, if he wants to beat us, great. We know Gronk is their best weapon. Why don't we take him out of the game? And Rex is a smart guy, so that makes sense. And I'm not entirely surprised that they're doing that. I'm a little bit more surprised that they can't get him the ball even with that coverage. But it's tough when you don't have time to throw.
Andrew, we're going to hold it there with you. We're going to go back to another guest here on the DK Sweat Show, and that is CDome06, jumping up to 48th place here in the Millionaire Maker on the night. This is a big move for Chris Randone from Orlando. Chris, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing well. As I've said, it's a pleasure to be here talking to all you guys as you go through the process of watching your teams and watching this Monday night game. What was a pretty pedestrian first half has turned into at least an exciting second half here with a lot of movement for folks across the Millionaire Maker. And you've made the move with Danny Amendola up to 48th, but it does look like Amendola may be injured as you had Chris Harper back deep there on the punt and in on the last series of downs. What's it been like watching this contest, watching Danny Amendola put up 23.7 points and bring your team up to top 50 out of 286,250 entries?
I mean, I think this is the story of my team. Injuries. This is the third injury now. This might be a record for the DraftKings Millionaire to still be in a top 1 percentile and still have 3 injuries and still cash at a high rate. I think it's incredible.
So you have a current 48th place team that's good for $3K. Obviously looking for a little bit more, but those injuries you're talking about, you have Sharkandrick West, who 57.2% owned here in the Millionaire Maker. That is a tough one that a lot of people dealt with. And then you had Zach Ertz as well go down with an injury, less owned at 5.3%, but still just as tough to deal with when you lose out on potential points. When you constructed this lineup, it looked like you went with a bit of a Carolina stack which obviously paid out for you. Was that a specific play with this lineup or multiple lineups that you were constructing, trying to get Stewart and Newton and Greg Olsen involved?
I mean, yeah, Carolina was really big to me this week. I mean, Washington is just horrible. And they played actually kind of good against the Saints last week, so I figured them going on the road. I know Cam Newton's not the biggest one to throw a lot of touchdowns, but I just figured this week with him and Olsen, I didn't really do like Devin Funchess or stay away from Ted Ginn as well, but Carolina definitely stood out to me. But I mean, the biggest couple people that stood out to me was definitely Julio Jones. I had him in every lineup. DeAndre Hopkins I was really big on, and Amendola was like the no-brainer. I mean, I know he was the chalk play, but the biggest thing was it was like 3 o'clock. I got the alert for Rawls, and I was debating to actually put in Rawls or Giovanni Bernard instead of West, but it's like an old little daily fantasy role. You never want to switch up your lineups, and I end up not doing it, and I'm kind of biting that bullet right now.
Potential big catch there from Gronkowski down the sideline, and it looks like waiting to see what the official word is there as the Patriots break the huddle and move into their offensive set. That is a catch, so Matt Smith jumping up to second place there with 201.44 with that Rob Gronkowski catch. If he can get another catch and a score from Gronk, that will change the complexion of the Millionaire Maker. Brady throws deep.
Wow.
And is picked off. So we will keep an eye on that, and we will keep an eye here on the variety of lineups that will be moving around as Buffalo comes back on offense. Now, Chris, what got you into DraftKings and what got you into daily fantasy?
It was like a few years ago. I used to play online poker, so that kind of the transition. I know a lot of players that have actually made that transition from online poker to daily fantasy, and it's kind of like now we're kind of in that same little period where online poker had that Black Friday, and now we kind of have certain issues going on that we won't get into. But yeah, it's just something I made the transition, and actually this is the first time I played in the last couple months. I actually had a huge win a couple months ago, and I took a step away, but got back into the Millionaire Maker with my roommate, and just figured might as well just get back into it for a little bit. So that's basically the storyline.
Nice, Chris. We appreciate you coming on here. We're going to take a break and step aside to talk to Matt Smith, who just jumped up to second place here with that Rob Gronkowski reception. Now, Matt, you don't have the potential for a Gronk score here because of the turnover, but a big catch from the sideline there. We've talked about how terrible Gronkowski has looked, how terrible Brady's throws have been. And then Brady drops a dime in, and Gronkowski goes over the shoulder for a big reception that is even bigger for you.
Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, up to second place with an outside shot of first with a touchdown. Definitely needed that.
You are looking for Buffalo either to turn the ball over here and give red zone possession to the Patriots, or for them to score, again, to sort of force the hand of Belichick to get a touchdown on his next drive. We know that Belichick likes to beat Rex Ryan as hard as he can, but we'll leave that narrative aside as the Bills try to drive here. So now you have a second-place team and a seventh-place team in the Millionaire Maker. You have a sweat on once again if the Pats get the ball back. What's it feel like right now, a year later, to be back in this position, staring at a TV, wondering what will come over the fourth quarter of this Monday Night Football game?
Oh, I mean, it feels good. It's weird to be on this side where I'm chasing now, whereas last year I was the one being chased. But just to be in this spot is definitely a good feeling.
Well, you chased yourself for a while tonight.
Right.
So I believe for the most part you hear people prefer to be the one chasing than the one with no one left. Is that your personal opinion as well? You'd rather be on the offensive rather than the defensive when with no PMR left?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's not ideal being up 10 versus down 10, like if the Patriots are down 10, but I mean, I'll take it. I'll take just the shot.
Well, Matt, we will stick with you. You are 8.5 points back of first place, which is Knowles 2148. I have not gotten confirmation yet on whether or not that is also a Florida State fan.
He's actually a guy I used to play in a poker home game with probably like 7-8 years ago, but I haven't talked to him in a while. I would assume he's a Florida State fan, but I can't totally remember. But just by his screen name, you would think so.
Yeah, I would assume so. You have two potential Florida State fans. It hasn't been the best year for the Seminoles, so why not be a good year for their fans here on the DraftKings Millionaire Maker, the DK Sweat Show. Matt, thanks for the time. We're going to hold on to you here, if you don't mind, as we try to keep an eye on this game. A pass interference call there bails out Buffalo and gives them some breathing room here to operate offensively as David and Andrew join us back here on the DK Sweat Show. And David, you made mention of it. Just a reception for Gronkowski would move Matt Smith, Sam Enol, not Sam Smith, but Matt Smith, up from fourth place into second. There he is. And now the potential, if the Patriots get the ball back, which it would seem they would with the time left on the clock, for a Gronk score to change the complexion of this Millionaire Maker.
Potential for magic.
There it is.
Yes. potential for magic, and just looking, talking about this on Twitter. I was talking with Matthew Berry, and he was talking about the inadvertent
Name dropper.
Oh,
this guy.
What? My good friend Matthew Berry. Who cares? Whatever. It's what it is. But no, he's
hashtag BFF.
hashtag besties. But no, he was talking about just how much the inadvertent whistle might have cost people because Amendola is now done. And when you're looking at these, most of these lineups now in the Millionaire Maker that have minutes left in the top 20, most of them have Amendola. So these lineups are now dead. But then you look at some of these other people that have two players, including there are some LaShawn McCoy people that are chasing. And keep in mind that every point matters when you're talking about the top 20 because of how smushed everyone is with their points in so many teams. And so if McCoy gets 14 more rushing yards, he'll get a 3-point bonus as well. So you've got guys like NU Kid in town at 1-7 that would move up into the close to the top 10. And then you also have Ricky the Great, who had Amendola, but also had LaShawn McCoy and Gronk. So Ricky the Great, currently in 27th with a 185. He doesn't really have a shot at winning this, but he does have a shot at getting considerably more money than what he has right now. So we do have a little bit of a sweat coming down as far as these last few minutes, but for the large part, the Amendola news just crushes a lot of people that were climbing up the ranks.
We will keep an eye on the next Patriots offensive set here as it looks like the Bills are set to punt it back away. And yet again, a coach decides to try to run it out wide on 3rd and short rather than trying to run between the tackles. Never really understand that, but I am also not a NFL football coach, so take that for what it's
Correct.
worth. Yeah,
you are not an NFL football coach.
So you are 5 out of 6 in trivia questions tonight. That is well done. You continue to rack up the points. The fact of the matter is, though, Patriots getting the ball back. Gronkowski has to be a target here now with Amendola on the shelf as well. You saw it was Chris Harper who came out, had a catch, but was negated by pass interference. That's who you and Adam were talking about earlier on that Twitter question. It seems like he is part of the plans now for the Patriots rather than later on next week or into the rest of the season. But Andrew, we face now Rob Gronkowski as the lone play here. This is the guy we're watching. Maybe some Shady McCoy if they get the ball back. Do you think that last pass catch changes things for the Brady-Gronk connection, or has there been enough tonight to just think that something's off between them?
I think we're probably at the point in the game where we're going to start seeing more and more Blunt. And if he can move the chains at all, then we're probably not going to see Gronk get very many more opportunities. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another catch too. I don't think that last pass changes anything. They've been trying to get him the ball all night. It was nice he finally came down with one.
The big play, of course, is Buffalo not putting up any more points. More points means the Patriots need to throw the ball a little bit more to put this game away. But as Andrew just said, probably see a steady mix of Bolden and White and Blunt here as they try to milk the clock for all that it's worth. Now, Dave, you set a lot of these potential outcomes for us there with McCoy and Gronkowski and the Amendola owners dealing with the whistle and now the injury as well. This has been a week of injuries. The top team here in Knoll 2148 has Kendrick West and Danny Amendola in the lineup. Now, we know it's a low scoring week in general, but have we seen this? Have we seen where a team has multiple injured players who don't finish games, finish first or even in the top sort of rankings of the Millionaire Maker of these large GPPs?
I don't think that we have seen. I mean, each and every week is a new week, and as far as we've seen some just brutal weeks with injuries, and I think Drew Dinkmeyer said yesterday on Twitter that if you had Jamal Charles in the game that he got injured, which he was owned pretty heavily, or Le'Veon Bell in his game, or yesterday, Devontae Freeman, I was 2 out of 3. I don't think I had a lot of Charles, but he was 3 out of 3. Those injuries hurt, definitely, but we still have some I mean, it's just part of the game, and it's what makes it exciting. And so you have just looking at some of these qualifiers for this big game, a couple of people that were chasing with Amendola, I mean, they were right there, like 0.75 points away, 1 catch away from getting a qualifier, and all of a sudden he gets hurt. Like, that is that's pretty brutal. But then you also have, now I counted 3 qualifiers that if the bonus is attained by Shady, then they will actually win a qualifying seat. So we might be done with this game, but 9 minutes left in the game for people that don't have Amendola. There's still a lot at stake here.
And looking at running back totals, taking a little bit of a turn here to a note that was provided to us by the playbook, DraftKings playbook. Doug Martin with a great game yesterday, but as you have a potential target over the middle to Chandler as Brady takes a big hit. But Doug Martin with 235 rushing yards, but just put up 26.5 DraftKings points. Does that point to anything in particular, Andrew, that running backs do need to score, or they need receptions to exceed the value of a large rushing day? Or is this just an anomaly to sort of take off and ignore as far as predictive value you can have from a running back?
Yeah, I mean, Doug Martin's not a big pass catcher, but that's still a pretty fluky line. It's unusual to see someone have so many yards and not have a touchdown, although Rawls this week, I believe, had 200 rushing yards, and he got his touchdown through the air. So kind of a weird week for running backs with that. But, yeah, I wouldn't look too much into it. It's unfortunate if you had him on a PPR site because what he did in real life didn't quite translate to fantasy points. But I think you'll still take 23.5 from him.
We're going to go back to a guest here where we'll talk to new kid in town who is currently sitting in 20th place in the Millionaire Maker, and that is Jeffrey Soffer from Texas. Jeffrey, you have LaShawn McCoy, you have Rob Gronkowski going, and you've been moving up the leaderboard steadily throughout the night. How are you this evening?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm
good.
Can you hear me? I can hear you loud and clear. Sounds like you are out enjoying your evening while watching this Monday night game. You have Gronkowski and you have LaShawn McCoy, and you have some potential here to continue moving up the board as the Pats get the ball back. But you're looking for some points right now from Buffalo.
I do. I'm hanging in there. The Amendola inadvertent whistle was huge for me. I feel like I'm kind of on borrowed time right now. And just with that injury, I know most people are not happy he's on the bench, but I couldn't be feeling better about that. So I'm hoping LaShawn McCoy keeps doing his thing, and hoping Gronk gets a couple more catches, maybe a touchdown. And yeah, I'd love to just keep climbing up as high as I can get.
So where are you right now? Where are you enjoying this Monday Night Sweat?
I'm with some friends at a bar.
Nice, and you're watching the game. What is the potential tonight? Have you started to think through if you get some more Gronkowski, you get some more McCoy, what could be as you continue to move up the leaderboard?
Yeah, I think my best case scenario right now is maybe third place, but probably more realistically like fifth or sixth. There's someone in front of me with Amendola and Gronk, someone else with Amendola and McCoy, and he just had such a big night earlier. I think I'm kind of shut out from the top couple spots. Just hoping to get as high as I can get right now with with Gronk and Shady.
Now, Jeff, are you a single bullet here, or is this multi-entry for you?
This is multi-entry. I did about 50 lineups this week. Had a good week last week, so decided to press it a little bit harder than usual. So yeah, put a few dozen entries in, and just kind of this one came through. So hoping for the best, hoping that Gronk and Shady can do a little bit more and just keep climbing.
I appreciate the Russell Wilson play here. I was on Russell Wilson as well in a couple of lineups, which were the only ones I ended up cashing. We'll see how that turns out. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Thomas Rolls, where you went with Rolls with the late swap, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Tyler Lockett at 0.1% owned.
You like that?
Fort Lockett. That is an impressive pull there. And then you had Crockett Gilmore at 2.3%, and you're waiting on some more Rob Gronkowski.
Right.
Jeff, we wish you the best of luck. We hope that tonight turns into a little bit of a better night. And I want to ask you a favor, though.
Sure.
If you make it into the top 10, how many people are in the bar right now?
Oh, man, there's got to be like 100 or so.
Oh, all right.
I'll take good care of them.
Okay. I want to know that you buy a round. If you
got
get
it.
to the top 10. All right. We'll
got
check
it.
back in on you for that one, okay?
Sounds great. Hey, thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Appreciate it.
Jeffrey Stoffer in Texas there. He didn't say where the bar is, so I can't tell you to go there now to get your free drink. But nonetheless, he did say if he catapulted into the top 10, he would be sure to take care of everyone there. The Bills trying to make a move here, and this is going to be a very specific defense from the Patriots, trying to prevent any big yardage plays, trying to milk time off the clock, up 2 scores, 20-10 here. And we continue to keep an eye on the changes in the top 10 as we sweat this out with our leaderboard in the Millionaire Maker. And we have in first place, Knowles 2148, Sammy Knoll in second. Then we have third place with, who do we have going in third place position-wise? Looks like we still have Rob Gronkowski and Danny Amendola going, so a Gronkowski owner there. And then in fourth place, Snowball 2247. And let's talk to Snowball 2247 now, get his take as we continue to watch this game unfold here in the fourth quarter. And this is a situation, Brandon, where due to the injury to Amendola, I guess you're hoping for the Bills to stay on the field as much as possible, right, at this point?
When they just run the clock out and leave like 2 minutes left so the Pats just run the ball up blunt.
And you had a very impressive reception there by what looked like Sammy Watkins coming across the field, a one-handed over-the-head catch to reel it in, and Tyrod Taylor holding his shoulder after coming up from that throw, so something to keep an eye on there. But you're right. You're looking for as little time as possible, potential score, and then some running from LeGarrette Blount or whomever, fading as much of Gronkowski and whether or not Amendola gets back into this contest. Now we do have to watch and see if Taylor has an injury. What are you feeling right now? So you were in second. You're back down to fourth. It's been an ebb and a flow. You've talked about keeping an even keel, talking about taking this as it comes. What are you thinking right now of this contest, 2010 New England over Buffalo?
I mean, it's been a pretty decent game. It was started off slow, but then it picked up a little bit, and seems like a typical Patriots-Bills game.
You are correct there, and even more so a typical Rex versus the Patriots game, a slugfest of sorts. Will be interesting to see what happens here as we see E.J. Manuel starting to warm up on the sidelines for the Bills just from a overall game perspective. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor can throw the ball right now. So we may see some runs here from McCoy or from Taylor himself, 2nd and 12. But Brandon, as we've gone through this night, you have seemed very even-keeled. You have seemed very determined to keep an eye on this contest. How has it unfolded for you, though, as you're watching? You said it's a decent game to watch, but overall, has it been a little bit difficult to keep the anxiety down, keep the emotions in check?
Yeah, it's been a little difficult. I mean, I figured Amendola was going to do something. I didn't expect him to do what he was doing, but pretty excited for what he did, and just a bummer that he got hurt.
Yeah, big injury there, and take it for what it is, but punt return with one of your main wide receivers is always one of those questions you get in the NFL and any level of football, whether or not you put your best players out there on special teams. Belichick, somebody that has done it many times over, so not surprising to see Amendola out there, but nonetheless, the injury coming there is a little tough to swallow. Tyrod Taylor made a great pass down the field. So the Bills are in shape here to try to put one into the end zone, down by 10. Brandon, we appreciate the time tonight. Hang tight. We want to see how this unfolds for you and everybody else. You've been great. We appreciate the time, and we'll check back with you maybe one more time before the end of the evening.
All right, no doubt. Thanks.
That is Brandon. He has been great to come on tonight. Brandon Nickel. He is drawing a bit dead, though, as are many Danny Amendola owners tonight. After the injury on the punt return, Amendola has been sidelined, and we've been watching the Patriots run it a little bit more with Blunt and keep an eye on Gronkowski and Chris Harper now and Brandon LaFell. We bring back in David Kitchen and Andrew Wiggins here to chat as this game continues to move forward. Gentlemen, we have this transition here in the top 5, and we have Buffalo trying to run the ball a little bit and get the ball to LaShawn McCoy, but actually lost yardage and moved further away from that 100-yard bonus, Dave. And that is always a potential with the run game here in the NFL.
I mean, yes, definitely losing yards, especially when you're supposed to be running. I don't know why they're running the ball, but they are running the ball. I think as far as some of these games or some of these last minutes, like a lot of LaShawn McCoy owners are hoping for, something to happen. If you recall, last time these two teams played, Buffalo came back at the end and made it a game. So who knows in his last 3 minutes and 34 seconds.
And Andrew, it looks like we'll get another Dan Carpenter attempt here. He did miss one earlier in the day, banged it off the upright, a closer kick here for the Bills. And what do you think here from Belichick? Do you put the hammer down, or are you running with Blunt? I know we mentioned Blunt earlier, but up 7, is Belichick one to take the foot off the pedal with Tom Brady at QB, or do we see a few more pass plays to Rob Gronkowski?
Well, they ran it a lot on that last series, and it was reasonably effective. So I'd expect probably more of the same. And they started off with Blunt and then Mixon Bolden there at the end, and ended up having to punt the ball. But he's going to try and run the clock down.
We will keep an eye on this contest as this game rolls on, and it's grinded to a bit of a halt here from a DFS perspective as we're waiting on Gronkowski, or we're waiting on LaShawn McCoy at this point in this contest. Now, Dave, where would you rank tonight's game on the season? Where would you put this one in the grand rankings of Monday Night Football, and how this has been a rough year for contests on prime time on Monday night?
I'd rank it in the middle, because there are some sweat still going on. A lot of people that have players in this game are still competing for some of these top qualifiers or even Millie Maker stuff. So, I mean, I would put it in the middle. Definitely, like there's been worse games than this where like no one really has anybody in contention. It wasn't even an issue. We did have a couple lead changes, and so yeah, I don't think it's too bad. The injury to Amendola is kind of what stinks, but at 23 points for his price tag, like you got what you paid for it, and you have to be happy. It just sucks for some of these people chasing and climbing up the leaderboards that had him, that won't be able to see what he was going to be able to do in this last quarter.
Andrew, from a lineup construction standpoint, as we're talking about value and we're going through week over week, the large amount of opportunity to roster cheaper price tag players, you're going to have Thomas Rawls at, I believe, 4,500 this upcoming week. I was talking about it earlier in the show. Do you see an overcorrection in ownership here, people chasing the points and getting after Rawls at 4,500? And is there such a thing of over ownership at 4,500 and a potential to be a carry monster here, somebody who's going to see all the carries for the Seahawks?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, we saw it this week where we had the interesting spot where Rawls opened up, and straight up, I preferred West, but it was a spot where if you were kind of trailing or anything, it was close enough that it was probably a swap worth making in cash games and in tournaments as well. And we see that Sammy Knowles up there at the top with Rawls in his lineup. I can assure you he didn't have Rawls in there to start with. And he was able to pass all those people that had West. So you had Rawls come out at like 1% owned or 2 or 3%, something very small. And West, what was he in the Millie Maker? I didn't see. I know in cash games he was like 75% owned. So
57.2% owned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's a huge leverage spot. And it was a little unique because Rawls opened up later. But it's something to be considering when you're looking at tournaments, when you know so many people are going to be on something. It's a hard game. People get hurt all the time. You don't want to root or even anticipate injuries, but weird stuff can happen. People have had bad games or good spots in the past, and you can just get jumped, so many of them, by going a little bit different direction. You don't have to give up a ton of points in your expectation. Like Rawls is a little bit worse, but you gain so much in that ownership gap there.
David, I come to you for some sweatikit education. I come to you for your opinion on Jeffrey Soffer was just discussing the injury to Amendola. It benefited him. Is it proper sweatikit to celebrate an injury to someone else's player?
No, it is not proper sweatikit. If you are in the midst of other players that have that player or in public arenas.
Such as YouTube and DraftKings TV?
Right. So that's when like you're in private and you just do the silent fist pump.
Yeah,
you just do this right here that you bite the bottom lip and like that's all you do. Like, I got it. You don't celebrate, you don't go wild with it. You just do the silent fist pump and celebrate on the inside.
Hey, here's a little trickier question. I think this one might be okay to celebrate. If you're playing NBA and someone is a late scratch and the guy doesn't get him out of his lineup, is that something that is okay to celebrate?
I mean, yeah, I think it's okay to sell. Again, it just depends on like what you like the other person. Like if you're going to do it publicly, sure. And like a lot of it depends on what you have. I will be honest. Someone picked up a lot of my college football games on Saturday night, and they picked up one on each level. And then they did not play one of the best plays of the night at quarterback. And I was able to win. So I threw out a tweet and said, I had someone who was did not play River Craft for Washington State and said, but luckily people played me that did not have this quarterback. So I rubbed it in a little bit because when someone takes your games from all different levels, it's like in basketball when they say they give you a free shot and they say just shoot it. It's disrespectful. So that's when you can kind of rub it in their face. But no, in a tournament, you don't want to celebrate a late scratch, really. Come on, Andrew.
Be better, Andrew. That's what David's saying.
It's a little definitely you don't want to celebrate people getting hurt because that's kind of the bad thing about the NFL. I mean, I love the NFL, but it really sucks. It's a brutal game. And when you're playing DFS, you're watching all these games and seeing these people get hurt. It takes a little bit of the fun out of it, honestly.
Lots of injuries, lots of changes across multiple teams. And you saw the Bills lining up with just 10 players there, so they had to burn a timeout on 3rd and 3 as we await the culmination of this game to reset for everybody. We have Knowles 2148 in first place with 209. Spot 3-4 has LaShawn McCoy and Danny Amendola going. In second place is Matt Smith. That's Sammy Knoll. The username has Amendola and Gronkowski. So that's a 1-for-1 there. LaShawn McCoy versus Rob Gronkowski with a 8-point difference between the two. So, Dave, that is a touchdown at this point for Gronkowski, right? A touchdown on a reception.
Magical touchdown.
A magical touchdown at this point, as it seems that the Bills have come up with the stop with 2 minutes and change going and should get the ball back here on offense. So we may see some potential LaShawn McCoy, but how much are the Bills going to run the ball here? Andrew, it seems like between Gronkowski and McCoy, we may be all out of luck and may be fairly locked into what the standings are right now.
Well, it's only a 7-point game. So we've seen some stuff happen.
Do not wish overtime on me, Andrew.
Hey, I mean, it's not like the Pats are up double-digit scores here. So if you have Gronk, there's some hope. That was probably not the worst outcome because now you hope that Tyrod marches him down, scores a touchdown, and yeah, man, you just never know. But
I wonder if we're going to see some EJ Manuel here, because it looked like Tyrod Taylor still had the coat over his shoulders before they went to commercial break. Not sure whether or not he is ready to go after falling on his arm in the last drive. But we look at third place has Amendola and Gronkowski, and then we have our buddy Snowball 2247, who had Amendola and is now at this point pretty much drawing dead unless Amendola pulls a Willis Reed and decides to walk back out onto the field and play a couple of downs if they get into overtime or get the ball back. But this is a lot of PMR left, but same players, same situations all across here. So fairly locked in with Knoll 2148 at the top and Sammy Knoll in second place. Talking to Matt, year over year, 2 years in a row being in this potential sweat for the Millionaire Maker. He seemed pretty excited there, and to have 2 top 10 finishes. Dave, I would lean on you for this. Have there been 2 top 10 finishes from the same user?
I think we have had it before. Two Gun last year had a real strong showing. I think had 2 top 10 finishes, but I mean, no, this is still a lot of money for Matt, and kudos to him because he's a good guy, and I'm pretty sure he named his son. Like, he can't really do too much more to show anything to Jameis Winston. Maybe like a tattoo. He probably already has a tattoo in an unspeakable place of Jameis Winston, but his son's middle name is Jameis. I'm almost positive that's like a true story. Matt, can you just nod your head if that's true?
Yeah, Matt still on the connection here. Do we get a nod wave? Do we get a confirmation? What are we looking at here?
So maybe we can unmute his.
Yeah, let's bring Matt back on, and let's get confirmation on middle name of your son. We have had it purported rumor that the middle name of your son is Jameis, in honor of Jameis Winston from FSU. Can we have confirmation or denial, please, sir?
His middle name is Jameson, and he was born before Jameis ever played a snap at FSU. So.
Not buying it. He was a prospect, and Matt lured Jameis in by saying, "I named my son his middle name."
Oh, so you're saying we have a recruiting violation? All right, all right.
Fun fact is that Matt was originally, he is a big Florida State fan, but more than a Florida State fan, he's a huge SEC fan, which you wouldn't know it, but he loves the SEC. He hates when the SEC loses, and he doesn't rub it in at all.
I sense some sarcasm in your voice, Mr. Kitchen. I'm not going to lie. Matt, as you sit here, second place, 8 points down, you are waiting for what will result in the end of this drive by the Bills and some poor clock management here from Buffalo in their own end of the field. I assume you're rooting for overtime at this point.
Yeah, I think overtime would definitely be good for me. I mean, it could theoretically end up being bad, but I think I definitely want it.
The minutes there of potential moving up to first place rather than the potential of moving down in the standings, obviously understood there. As we see a review on the last play come across after the Bills ran down the clock a little bit. Now, Matt, we talked about it before, but I'm trying to wrap my head around having 2 lineups out of 286,000 finish in the top 10, and what the process is to get 2 different lineups constructed, other than, of course, rostering Jameis Winston and going from there. But what your process is from a lineup construction standpoint. Are you a core guy and then you build out from there, or are you looking for unique identifiers in each lineup that you're trying to construct every week?
It just varies. I literally did, I started out with 30 Jameis teams, so towards the end I was just clicking on a bunch of random guys with big upside, and got lucky with these 2, I guess.
Hey, Matt, did Wakey, your buddy and fellow Florida State fan, and also a high
He's
state,
actually right here next to me, but
did he play any Winston lineups?
Oh, yeah, he did. How many did you do? I think he did like 50.
Man,
So
you guys are sick. You guys are so
David, we now know who the entire ownership percentage of Jameis Winston, the Millionaire Maker,
He
was.
didn't switch to Rawls on a few like I did, and that was his mistake. But
man. I mean, when fanboys, it's like last year we had a bunch of Steelers players that won the Millie Championship because you could they had like Steelers in their screen name, and that was when you had the good old days of Ben Roethlisberger and Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown going nuts, and those three won a couple $1 million prizes. So, well, that's awesome. I mean, it's great because I know when we were in Miami, I gave Matt a little bit of flack because Mariota just schooled Jameis, and obviously Matt's having the last laugh right now.
I guess I have to roster Kenny Britt next week. I guess that's what this comes down to.
Yeah, you need to roster a Rutgers player that is not in legal trouble or
So that's not Kenny Britt. I can't roster Kenny Britt.
Or has any sort of domestic violence.
Okay. All right. So Mohamed Sanu is the one Rutgers player I will be able to roster for the Cincinnati Bengals. Fantastic.
Coleman doing these days?
He's around. He's talking to some other wide receivers from New Orleans.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, Matt, we'll keep an eye on this as Buffalo tries to put one into the end zone to tie this game up. We appreciate the time tonight, and we appreciate finding out where Jameis Winston was owned and by whom here in the Millionaire Maker. Worked out very well for you. Honest question here. A 5 TD game, don't think you're predicting that, especially off of 246 passing yards, but do you see a high upside moving forward for Winston the rest of the season?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I hope his price doesn't go up, but if it does, I'll still be taking him.
So we will keep an eye on Jameis Winston as we move forward and bring back in Andrew and David, Matt Smith, Sam E. Knoll, currently in 2nd and 7th place. The Bills just trying to keep this drive alive, and honestly impressed here from Tyrod Taylor, seemingly dealing with a shoulder injury, evading 2 tackles to keep these plays alive and trying to keep the Bills offense moving forward. Now, that was a reception for LaShawn McCoy, which gives Knowles 2148 a bigger lead here on Sam E. Knoll, up to 9.5 points or so, almost a foregone conclusion now with 57 seconds left, but we'll keep an eye on this as we move forward. David, talking to someone like Matt and somebody who plays Jameis Winston on this sort of day, I talked to Adam before about the Philadelphia defense. Defense just seems like such a large variant here, trying to pay up for a defense, trying to figure out these guys who are these defenses who are big on the takeaways. What sort of strategy do we push moving forward? Do we stick to trying to find the best matchup, or is defense truly a position we can punt at and finding obviously the best low level or low price matchup we have?
Well, I think there's a lot of different factors. First of all, you had 2 teams that were just going to run an insane amount of plays with this Philly Tampa Bay team. And you have Philly, who is pretty good against the pass overall, 4th overall in DVOA. But obviously they have some cornerbacks that could get burned, and that's kind of what happened. But I mean, I certainly didn't expect Jameis Winston to do what he did. However, when you have 2 teams that pull off a lot of plays, it's like baseball and Coors. It's like basketball with the Sixers or whoever like the Sixers in Houston playing. Like you just get a lot more plays. You get a percentage bump, and so that's where Winston came into play, and obviously he has the targets in Evans and Vjak. So I think this is not really a defensive sort of thing. But yes, defenses are random. I think the bigger story is people that played the Tampa Bay Bucks D because it was really cheap and got double-digit points from them against Philly. So, there's a lot of different ways to get up to the millionaire like we talked about. Just a bunch of different strategies, and this was one of them.
46 seconds left in this contest. Last pass play under official review. Andrew, can you define what is a catch in the NFL for everybody watching?
I wish that they would make it more clear. It's kind of silly, frankly, but I don't think this was a catch.
Lots of movement going on there as Watkins went to the ground and tried to bring it in, all in the same motion. There's the whole question, obviously, about football move or not football move, feet in bounds, whatever different definitions you need in the NFL currently. But you have Tyrod Taylor here playing with what looks like a hurt shoulder, getting at least some passes off. Impressive showing from him there. As we look towards Thanksgiving, gentlemen, and towards this 3-game slate. Andrew, if you're playing just this 3-game slate, trying to find the right lineup, where are you starting your lineup construction on Thursday? Is there a specific play that you're most enamored with, or are you still in discovery mode for Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah, I haven't done much work, but I'm pretty intrigued by Aaron Rodgers just because he hasn't been very good, and I think people will generally be off of him. But I still believe in Rodgers, even though I think a lot of his problems is receiving options. Like Randall Cobb's been terrible, and Devontae Adams isn't as good as people hyped him up to be. And they're really missing Jordy. And James Jones had been non-existent for a few weeks until this week. But still Aaron Rodgers. They get the Bears at home. I'll probably, I played him a lot at home against the Lions 2 weeks ago. I think I'll go back to that well. And hopefully he's not really owned in tournaments, and he's got as much upside as any quarterback in the NFL.
So they do rule that a catch on the sidelines. The call reversed, saying it was a catch by Sammy Watkins. David, how much is too much DFS on Thanksgiving? Can I do the under the table? Can I do the bathroom break? What is the strategy for Thanksgiving dinner and checking lineups?
Yeah, I think under the table is different than the bathroom break. That's something else.
Let's keep it clean, boys.
The phone goes under the table.
Wedding crash.
Oh, come on.
But no, as far as there's no such thing as too much turkey, and there's no such thing as too much DFS on Thanksgiving Day. And, your family, at least now they know what daily fantasy is, because no doubt they've seen the commercials. So I don't think there's such a thing. There's 3 good games. I mean, when you look at these games, these are just good DFS games. Philly at Detroit, Carolina at Dallas, and Chicago at Green Bay. All 3 have decent fantasy options, so it's going to be a good day for Thanksgiving games, and should be fun. It should be fun even to play against your family members. That's what's great about DFS is you can get in and be eating and talking trash to each other while playing these DFS contests.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it's an ideal time if you have family members that like the NFL but don't play daily fantasy. This is the best time. I've always gotten family members will set up a private game, and it's easy because there's only 3 games, and they're not on at the same time, and you're probably going to be watching all 3. So it's literally the perfect time to introduce new people to DFS, and it's kind of a nice family bonding experience.
There it is, and that's where we'll leave it. A family bonding experience on Thanksgiving. You heard it here first. It may be a magical Thanksgiving after all. Gentlemen, great stuff as always. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys, to your families. Hope it's a good holiday, and enjoy the turkey and all of the trimmings, or whatever you are calling green bean casserole these days. David, Andrew, Adam Levitan, all great stuff tonight. To the entire crew here on DraftKings TV, great job here with the live show. To everybody watching, happy Thanksgiving. We hope you have a great day and hope you enjoy the daily fantasy along with the turkey. And a personal note, happy 60th birthday to my mother on Thanksgiving nonetheless. So happy birthday, Mom. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We'll see you next week on the DraftKings Sweat Show right here on DraftKings TV.